Stand up, New York Giant fans. Baddog.
Entertainer.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Friday evening.
Friday evening's going on.
First time in a long time we haven't had a game to look forward to, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's nice that we've had games to look forward to up until this week.
Facts.
That's a big change. You know, I was actually talking to a guy on Twitter today, and he's like, "Chris, you're going to cover the Senior Bowl, you know, because obviously the draft and all that." And I'm like, "Holy crap! This Senior Bowl is like next week. It's like this week."
Yeah.
Because in years past, you're like, all right, in a month and a half, I'll talk about the Senior
Bowl.
Bowl.
Right.
Like it's this week. I'm just like not used to not looking ahead to off-season content because the Giants are so relevant for as long as they were.
Right. Usually by Halloween, we're talking about the draft and our season's over. And I've said a million times, the Yankee season lasts longer than the Giants season. Not this year.
Yeah, it was
nice. It was a fun year. This was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Going to say hello to a couple people in the chat. Informal Deviant in here. Dire Giants fan in here. Young Hendricks in here. Rob Bossy in here. Edie Everyday Vapor in here. Jabari, what's going on? What's going on there? Lewis Brand. What's going on there? Michael, what's going on there? Chris Smith. What's going on? Afghanistan Sports Influencer in the chat. What's going on? Deer Slayer. What's going on? Daniel Campbell. James Vegas. Ryan D. We got all with Nate. Alex, thank you. Hash Brown. Getting me hungry. He's got the McDonald's hash brown out.
Hash brown's nice.
But yeah, Baddog, I figured obviously not too much to recap. And we've all talked it out in terms of the Eagles game. We got destroyed. We're talking about the offseason now. We're talking about what's to come. And we'll obviously talk to the chat and everything else. But Giants, I think what you took out of that last game, and we talked about this yesterday, it was a really good season. Really fun season. One of my favorite seasons since I've been watching the team. But it's very similar, and people made this comparison throughout the year. It's very similar to that 2020 Knicks team, where whatever year it was, maybe 2020, whatever it was, where they far exceeded expectations. They got the 4 seed in the East, but at the end of the year, you said to yourself, this was a lot of fun, but we got a lot to work on. And I think it's the same thing with the Giants. You look at it comes down to what we did in the division. If this team wants to really be viewed as like a real contender, they have to start playing better from within the division. If there was a negative to take out of this year, we got demolished in the division. I posted a stat on Twitter before we went live. Daniel Jones played 4 games between the Cowboys and the Eagles. He, of course, didn't play the last game of the year. In those 4 games, he was sacked 17 times. The Giants only had 5 sacks in those games. So, like, if we're going to beat these teams, Baddog, we can't continue to get bullied up at the point of attack. And that was really the big thing that I took out of the 2 games against Dallas and the 3 games against Philadelphia this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's our next step is being able to beat Dallas and Philadelphia. Obviously, we had a great year. I know some people are like 9 wins. You tell you that wasn't a great year. It was a great year. We had won 22 the previous 5 years. We won a playoff games. We actually won 10. So we won half as many games this year pretty much as we have in the last 5 combined. So they took a massive step forward. They accelerated expectations here. But I think the next step is being able to compete and beat Philadelphia and Dallas. And like you mentioned, they killed us up front. I mean, that was really where both of those teams whipped us really good. The Eagles really whipped us, not counting the last game of the season because who knows how hard they were actually playing. But in the 2 other games where they just completely killed us, I think they outscored us like 86-29 or whatever it is, and they rushed over 500 yards against us in 2 games. It was pretty evident that their front offensive line was just completely obliterating our defensive front. You saw those guys getting pushed back 8-10 yards off the line of scrimmage. It's insane. And at the same token, we couldn't do anything. Stopping their pass rush. They were all over Daniel Jones. We didn't run the ball at all. So we got some work to do. There's no question about it. But I think that we mentioned this a million times. The future's bright. I have faith in what these guys are putting together and the direction they're going to take the team. And, I expect them to be back in the playoffs next year. Do I expect them to win the division? Probably not. I still think that Philadelphia and Dallas are going to be a little bit better than us, but I think we'll close the gap. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to close the gap. It's not going to happen overnight, but eventually it will, and we'll be back on top.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a multi-year process, which is exactly what we knew going in. This year was a bonus. I think they're ahead of schedule. There's no way you could deny that, but I think we all viewed it as like at least a 3-year process when Shane took the job with what he inherited. I still think it's 2 more years before this team, and who knows? You could always get hot when you get into the playoffs. That's the exciting part.
Good,
but before this team could like be viewed at on the level of some of the teams that we're watching this week in terms of talent. I think they're at least 2 more years away from building, and they have to hit on these draft picks, and these players need to develop. And that also speaks to some of the younger players that are already on this team, guys like Josh Azudu, guys obviously like Thibodeau, guys like Evan Neal. You figure those guys will get better as the years go along if Joe Shane knows what he's doing, and I think he does. I mean, I think
Wan'Dale Robinson, Cordell Flott, Dayton Belton. Yeah. You expect those, Daniel Bellinger. You expect those guys to improve. And they when they were in there, I mean, pretty much all of them got hurt at one time or another this year, which is insane. But I think they all showed promise. Unfortunately, they just didn't get the consistency they needed. They didn't get all the snaps, so they might be their experiences, might have got delayed a little bit. But when Wan'Dale Robinson tore his ACL, he had over 100 yards receiving. We hadn't had a 100-yard receiver in God knows how long. Now we had some at the end of the year there, but and I thought Flott played well. I thought Belton did a good job, and I do. I think those guys are going to get better.
Oh, for sure. John, what's going on, man? Guys, can my Eagles win the Super Bowl for a little bit? What's going on, John? Thanks for popping in.
Listen, Johnny, my son's old enough to know that he hates Philadelphia. Daddy teaches him that. Just like my dad taught me that, just like his dad taught him that. This little bad dog knows Grandpapa in heaven, Papa in heaven, Daddy. We love the Giants. It's in our blood. He's a Giants fan. He knows that. He knows he's a Giants fan. Daddy watching the Giants. Like, no, buddy, the Giants aren't playing right now. We don't like that. And he knows he doesn't like that star. He knows that too. He goes, he said that to me.
Better not like the star.
Monday when they were playing the 49ers. He goes, Daddy, we don't like the star, right? No, we don't like the star.
I won't even put a star on my Christmas tree.
No,
that's so much I hate Dallas.
I put an angel on it. I don't put a star.
I put an angel. I don't put a star.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But to go back to your original question, John, yeah, I think you got a shot. I think all 14. I think this is one of the years, Baddog. I'd have to really think about it. I think all 4 teams are like very evenly matched. Like I could see any one of the 4 winning the Super Bowl, where in years past you don't always feel that way.
The only thing is with Kansas City, you don't know how serious Mahomes' injury is.
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati's going to win that game. I really do. And yeah, we talked about this on Patty's show last night when we were doing the show with Brunson and Philly Mike, and they constantly said, we're not Minnesota. And they were right. Their defense is way better than Minnesota. And I hope Eagle fans realize the 49ers are not the Giants. You ain't pushing them around. You ain't running for 200-plus yards against that team. That's not happening. And they have many different ways to beat you. It could be Brock Purdy back there, but they have McCaffrey. They have Kittle. They have Deebo Samuel. They have Brandon Ayuk. They have just
Kyle Shanahan.
Right. They have a ridiculous amount of talent everywhere. It's going to be a good game.
And their defense, I mean, my goodness.
That's what I'm saying. They're not pushing them around.
Bosa,
you're not pushing
Warner,
Bosa around. Warner, right.
I mean, they
Warner was
talent.
everywhere in that Dallas game. That guy was everywhere in that Dallas game.
Oh, my God. I saw Fred Warner he went stride for stride with CeeDee Lamb 50 yards down the field.
Yeah, he was
That's when I posted that tweet. Like, I need a Fred Warner on this New York Giants.
Yeah, he was incredible. Every time there was a defense play, I'm like, that Fred Warner, I said he's everywhere on the field.
Yeah, it really makes you appreciate like an elite middle linebacker. And I understand like a lot of people downplay that position. You get a guy like that, I mean, he could change the defense.
Big time. Yeah. I mean, Blake Martinez wasn't even great for us, but he was a solid middle linebacker. We don't have anything like that here now. So we need that. They're right in the middle of the defense. We need a middle linebacker. We could use a guy like Fred Warner. Not that you're not getting Fred Warner, but
no,
it'd be nice to have a guy like that.
Yeah. Goblin says, let's go, boys. Excited to start my draft prep. USFL soon. Yeah, I started to look into it a little bit today. Obviously, I'm not going to do a ton of content on the draft yet, but I started to look into some of the prospects today. I wrote down about 30 of them that I really want to look at. I'm going to focus on corners, wide receivers. That's really what I'm going to be looking at in terms of first-round prospects because that's where I think we're going. I'd be surprised. I mean, could we take a center in the first? I suppose. Could we take a linebacker? I suppose. But as I've said, I think we're going to be more inclined if we're going to add a linebacker to do it in free agency. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll take one in the first or second round. I think we're going with a wide receiver or corner in the first if I had to guess right now. But who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. We'll see how the offseason plays out.
Yep.
Brett says, what's up, guys? I still wear my Giants gear out in public. Very proud of my team this year. I even got compliments from people out here in Montana. Go Big Blue.
That's impressive. There's not many people in Montana, so it's impressive. That's impressive. That's awesome. I would have never assumed there was a Giants fan in Montana. Honestly,
how many people are in? There might be like 6 people in Montana.
That has to be one of the least populated states, like square footage wise. It might be. I don't know the numbers, but I would imagine like Montana's a big state, so I bet you square footage wise, it probably has one of the lowest populations in the country. But that's awesome. And I'll tell you, Brett, I wore my Giants stuff out all the time last year. People at the gym, they love it. People at the gym like, oh, yeah, go Giants. I'm like, yeah, they stink. But what the hell can they do? This year, everyone's like, yeah, about them Giants. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's much better.
It was fun.
It's much better. Oh, geez, Giants fan, man, I'm sorry. For the last 5 years. This year, it's like, go Giants. Hell yeah, baby. Let's go.
And I have a feeling it's gonna be like that for a long time.
Let's go.
Chris says, what's your Super Bowl prediction, boys? Well, I got to stick with the Niners, even though like the Eagles definitely impressed me last week, obviously, as a Giants fan. I picked the Niners to win the Super Bowl before the year started, so I can't change that pick now. So I'm sticking with the Niners. And in the AFC, I'm going to go with Cincinnati, even though I'm going to say this, Baddog. And I'm picking Cincinnati because everything tells me to pick Cincinnati. They're hot. Like you said, Mahomes is a little bit dinged up. I just feel like Kansas City is getting disrespected. It just has that feeling to me that the Chiefs are going to pull this one out. But I just think Cincinnati's the better team right now. So I'm going to go with the Niners and the Bengals.
Yep. Rematch of Super Bowl 16 and 23. The only 2 Super Bowls the Bengals have ever been in. They faced the 49ers and Joe Montana. Obviously, there's no Joe Montana there now. But yeah, same thing. I'm pretty sure I don't remember I want to say I had a I could be wrong. I don't remember who I chose, but I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. I thought I said.
I know you. I don't know if you had the Bengals
last year's Super Bowl. So I had I'm pretty sure I had the Rams in there, but they completely fell apart. But I always believed in the Bengals. So
yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember us having the conversation before the year started. I do know. If you didn't say it before the year, I do know that you said Cincinnati very early.
Very early, yeah.
Yeah, definitely like at least by the midway point, you had the Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they finished the year really hot. So I
know in the NFC I had the Rams and they stunk.
Yeah. They're playing their best ball right now, though, Cincinnati. So that's kind of like last year, right? They're hot at the right time.
Yeah.
Big Moose says, you guys had a great season, and I thank you for the content. I appreciate you for being a member, Big Moo, man. Thanks so much for being here. And Evan Allen. Evan
Neal's in the chat too. What's up?
What's going on, Evan? You're going to do a better job next year.
Way better.
Evan Allen says the football god saw us sit through Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm and said enough is enough. Oh, that was brutal.
That was rough. That was rough season last year.
That was the low point. I think that was rock bottom. I don't think it could get lower than that. Or at least I hope. Yeah, that's where the toilet paper came out.
Circus music, toilet paper, playbook. I mean, Chris and I I don't even know how we got through those games.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know.
We laughed.
We did. You had to laugh.
We literally, like you said, we were playing the circus music on the first play of one of the games.
The Bears.
Yeah, we threw a
it was the Bears game. He dropped back, he fumbled, they got it down at the 2, and then they scored. Yeah, it was crazy.
So I think we laughed. I think we got to a point as a fan base where it was like you can't even scream anymore. It's just too funny at this point.
Until I got to my post game videos, and then
like
Joe Judge have it a lot, but it was cathartic for me. I knew they were bad. They still ticked me off. Like I said, this year, man, I had one game where I was mad, and that was the Vikings game. And it's not because the Giants played bad. I was just pissed off that we didn't get a chance to win in overtime because I know my heart of hearts we were beating them in overtime. And we beat them when it counted. But that was it. I wasn't really happy with the tie against Washington. I wasn't mad, but I was another one, Chris, where I felt like we had that and we kind of let it get away from us. Other than that, the Lions, I felt like that was just a disappointing loss. And I was like, that was just a bad game. Philadelphia, just number one, the game didn't mean much to us. Number two, they're just way better. And the same thing with Dallas, especially the Thanksgiving Day game. We were so beat up going into that game, and it was a short week. And, I didn't think we had much of a chance. At least we battled Dallas, though. We played them tough all the way into like the end of the third quarter where we finally just wore down. Other than that, I'm trying to think like
the Seattle game. You had the 2 Richie James.
Yeah,
fumbles.
the Richie James fumbles sucked, but I wasn't really mad at it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, that sucks. But I felt like Seattle outplayed us.
They did. They did.
Fumbles would have changed stuff, but I felt like they outplayed us. So I wasn't too I didn't feel like we did anything dumb. Last year I was so mad because it was just so many dumb things, dumb football. This year, every year you're going to have somebody doing Feliciano did the dumb crap against Washington when he went up and did one of these.
Barkley, we won the game, but Barkley going out of bounds 3 times.
Yeah, against Jacksonville. Oh God, that
would have been if they lost that game.
Barkley, man, he would have.
I would have flipped. I would have flipped out if they would have. They won, so everything was forgiven. But there was a couple, but you're going to get that throughout an NFL season. It was a great year overall.
Yep.
Daniel Jones burner account says, "Hey, I'm from Oregon." I was just messing with the dude from Montana. I'm just kidding.
Of course. It's just cool that we have Pacific. I don't know. Montana's not really considered the Pacific Northwest, I don't think.
Yeah.
But, it's cool that there's Giants fans out there in that area.
He says, I represent well out here too. As far as the draft, as much as we need wide receiver, we need inside linebacker first round. Get Zay Flowers in the second. I won't be upset if they take an inside linebacker in the first round at all. We'll see. I think they're going to go BPA, but we'll see. I think they're going to add one free agency. I keep saying that. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I think that's what they're going to do. But if they don't, it's entirely possible they go linebacker in the first round. We know we need one. But it's going to be the best player on their board. I don't think they're going to force
we haven't had one since your guest on your show.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Mr. Banks. Yes.
Which again, I just want to say, man, I'm proud of you, buddy. That's awesome, and you deserve it, man. That was just really cool to see. I know you mentioned. I don't know if it was when we were doing the stream or after. When you're just it was kind of like, oh shit, that's Carl Banks.
Yeah.
That was just funny the way you just looking. I'm I know he's coming on, but still, that's Carl Banks.
Yeah. So like what happened? When we're both in the backstage before I pop us in, I was in the backstage waiting for him to get in, and I was talking to the chat, and he pops in next to me, and I'm still not on the screen. And I look down, I'm like, holy shit, that's Carl Banks.
Right, yeah.
And then we just started. But it was cool. It was really cool.
And it was a great interview. And Carl Banks is so chill.
Yeah.
He played completely different. He was a madman out in the field. He was like a silent assassin. LT was definitely the boisterous, vocal, let's go out there like a bunch of crazed dogs. And Carl Banks was kind of like the silent assassin.
Yeah, the best way to describe Carl Banks, he's kind of, and I didn't get to appreciate him as a player like you did, but in terms of how he is now, as a broad, he's really intelligent. You could tell in terms of the way that he uses and the way that he breaks down the game, but he's also smart enough to be able to explain it in a way that is easy to understand for everybody.
Yeah,
which is not it's not easy to do that. So
no, it's
yeah.
The funny thing is, so I have that on. And I say to my wife, I said, "You know what that is?" She didn't know. She doesn't know. She doesn't know Giants history. She's like, "No," and I just show a rookie card. I go, "That's Carl Banks." I said, "That was one of my favorite players when I was growing up." I was in 1986. Lawrence Taylor had the year of all years. I said, but if you go back and watch that playoff, or this is for anybody, I wasn't talking to her, but if you go back and watch that playoff run against the 49ers, the Redskins, and the Broncos, Carl Banks was dominant. And I mean dominant in those 3 playoff games in the Super Bowl. Because even John Madden says in one of the games, I forget which one it is, he goes, yeah, number 58 guy, the guy that plays over there that plays like number 56. I mean, that's how good Carl Banks is playing. And then he was an All-Pro in 87. And he's a borderline Hall of Famer. I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame. But, when he was talking about Daniel Jones, I'm sitting there saying to myself, if anybody's going to understand this, it's guys like Carl Banks who've played the game
more times when he came
more
on
than we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He gets it. And, he said a lot of things about, he said he was a top 8 quarterback.
Yeah,
that's how good he thought Daniel Jones played this year. So, Carl Banks is going to see a lot more and understand a lot more intricacies of the game than we are. We never played it. A lot of us never played it past high school. That man, like I said, he was an All-Pro, he's a borderline Hall of Famer, knows his stuff. But that was really cool. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I hopefully he does it again. But yeah, and thank you. Like I said during the live stream, thank you to all you guys, man. Yeah, I mean, without you guys, without our audiences, like stuff like that's not even remotely possible. Like at the end of the day, I'm just a fan that comes on YouTube. That,
and he's a fan. He's a fan.
Yeah, and Carl Banks is a fan of my channel, so that was cool. But yeah, thank you to you guys, man, for all the support you guys always show, both of us. And Angel says Shannon Sharp said Mac Jones should have called DJ about Joe Judge and said DJ would have hung up the phone. Glad we got.
I have to do a video on that. I have to. I have to. I didn't get to do it today because just Fridays are tough. But I have to do a video on this.
Yeah, Joe Judge. I mean, at this point, he's definitely building.
I really don't want to because it's not my problem anymore. So I just let it go. Which I probably will.
To me, it's not even worth talking about.
It's not. It's just it's funny to me.
Like I have a little chuckle about. But
yeah, it's funny to me.
Yeah, it's just it's whatever with Joe Judge.
But I guess part of the problem is now, as a Giants fan, you kind of run out of content at this point because what are you going to talk about? Like you said, I don't really want to talk about the draft yet. The
too early. Not over. Well, especially this offseason, bad though, because it's not like in years past we didn't have like a Daniel Jones that we didn't know whether or not he was going to be back or Saquon Barkley. Like that to me is going to impact everything else that we do throughout the offseason, not just if they come back, but what their contract is going to be in terms of free agency. So it's it's very hard to talk about, what we're going to do in free agency before I know what they're going to do with Barkley and Jones. So it's like a domino effect. You got to wait till that happens before you could really take a deep dive into everything else.
Yep, absolutely.
Dire Giants fan says, what's up, fellas? What a great season. Giants have a lot of work ahead of them, and I can't wait to hear what they do from your channels. Always great content. Cheers. We appreciate it, Dire.
Appreciate it, my man. My main man, Dire Giants fan.
Yeah, great supporter, both of ours, always in our streams. Thank you so much for being here, man. Speaking of a great supporter, got to meet Chris in person. Always nice to both of us. Says, thanks for a great 2022 season, guys. It was great meeting you at the game, Tana. Hope to meet both of you at a Giants event. Yeah, I mean,
I got to get there next year, Chris. I have to. I've been there in 2 years, and I got to get there. I already talked to a buddy of mine. Like I said, my biggest issue is it's a long drive for me, and I hate that drive. So I always tell them, whoever I'm going with, listen, you drive, I'll pay for the hotel. That's fine with me. You pay for the, you drive and pay for the beer. I'll pay for the hotel room and whatever. But and I will stay where I did last time. That was a nice freaking room. But you visited.
It was nice.
So. I definitely have to get down there, but I got a guy who said, yeah, let's do it. So,
we should. Listen, you know what we should do? It might be, it's probably about the same distance for you. What about if we went to Buffalo this year? It would be an excuse.
Buffalo is actually twice as far.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, Buffalo.
I just think it'd be cool to go to a road game because I know, depending on what the weather would be like, because if it's freezing cold, I probably don't want to go to Buffalo.
Now, one thing I can say is that I do, my in-laws are big Bills fans.
Yeah.
So they do go to Bills games. So that may be the thing. I mean, you met my brother-in-law the one year.
Yeah.
He may go out to Buffalo.
That would be cool. I mean, Buffalo's
there's nothing to do in Buffalo. Buffalo is I don't want to.
Buffalo.
It's Buffalo. There's nothing out there.
Why their fans are crazy.
Yeah, there's nothing to do out there except for drink and watch football. That's right. They're crazy fans. They're great fans. Buffalo's got great fans, but the city itself is just what the hell is that?
It's Buffalo.
Terrell Owens said something about Buffalo. I forgot what it was.
They named their city after an animal. It's Buffalo. I mean,
well, that's where Buffalo wings come from, right?
Yeah, I mean,
is it?
There's not much there. There's buffaloes there. That's about it. But Chris, man, thank you so much, man, and I'm looking forward to getting to meet you again soon, man, at another Giants game. But it was cool. I actually got to walk in with David Tyree with you, so that was cool. And the Big Moose says, do you think when Banks speaks that Shane listens? I mean, Banks has a weekly show on YouTube, if you watch it, Big Moo, where he sits down and talks with Brian Dable, for a half hour with Bob Papa. So, I'm not saying he has any input on what the team does, but he definitely has, at least, some kind of, sense of what goes on from behind the scenes. I mean, he works for the team, for God's sakes. He has constant communication with the head coach week to week. So I'm sure that they exchange words, and he may tell them a few things from time to time for sure. I don't think Joe Shane's taking draft advice from Carl Banks, nor should he. As smart as Carl is, Joe Shane's the general manager. He makes the decisions. But
one thing I'll say, it seems like Joe Shane would be willing to listen to almost anybody. Brian Dable listens to the players and always wants their input. So I'm sure Shane does listen. I don't know how much he, says, okay, well, I'm going to take your advice, but I'm sure he will. If Carl Banks says, hey, I'm sure Shane listens to everybody's opinion.
Shane is that the one thing I will definitely take from Shane, and there's a lot of things that I like with him over Gettleman, okay? But the one thing that I really appreciate about Joe Shane
is he's not from Boston. That's first.
Well, that for sure. But one thing that a lot of people hated Dave Gettleman for, outside of his poor free agent decisions and his poor contract construction, he was arrogant. Like, let's be real. God. He was definitely funny at times, at least for me, but he was definitely arrogant. And I completely understood why people did not like the guy just from that.
He was smarter than everybody else.
Joe Shane is the complete opposite of that. That's the thing that I love about Joe Shane. And one thing that I really appreciate about him is, I think like a lot of general managers, if they would have taken this job, especially a general manager like Dave Gettleman, they'd be like, no, I don't want to work with these players. I want to scrap these guys. Joe Shane has said, no, there's some of these guys on this team that I like that I want to continue to build with. He's not a guy that needs all the credit. He just wants to get the job done, and he wants to get there. So, and the other thing is, he's been so forthcoming. He has not beat around the bush with what he wants to do. He's a straight shooter. I really appreciate Joe Shane. I think I really like what he's done so far. The way that he's handled the spotlight, the things that he's been able to do his first year. I think he's off to a great start.
And that's why I'm so amped up about our future, because, like we've said a million times, the Giants finally got it right. They got the right pieces in place here. So I'm looking forward to the way they continue to build on this team. They've built a good foundation, and now it's time to. Or if maybe they did, maybe Gettleman actually built a lot of this foundation, and they just, figured out how to cement that foundation. They figured out how to get the most.
Well, they still got a lot more to build, but
they definitely do. But like I said, if you have your quarterback, you definitely have built your foundation. Now you got to you have your bookend tackles, you have your quarterback. Now there is other pieces. You definitely need, like we talked about, middle linebackers, interior linebackers, interior offensive line, but. If you have your quarterback and you have your bookend tackles, you got a good start. So,
that's where
and you got edge rushers. So again, you're working from the outside in on the lines of scrimmage, and on the other end, you work from the inside out. Talking about your lines of scrimmage, your quarterback, your running back, and then your receivers and your corners and stuff. So, I like I said, maybe Gettleman did. Obviously has something to do with the foundation if these guys stay around, but. Dable's been able to get the most out of them, and they got a good coach, and that goes a long way too. That's part of your foundation as well. So,
for sure. We'll talk about Wink Hirsch. We'll get to that in a second. I heard about the reports today with Wink getting a second interview. We'll touch on that for sure. Just gonna answer a couple of these. We'll jump into that. Evan says, "What do you all think about Tremaine Edmonds as a free agent target?" Appreciate you guys. I've watched every game day stream we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, Evan.
That,
I think he makes perfect sense. It's a huge need of ours. And if we're gonna spend, like I've said now for the last couple of weeks, the more I've thought about it, the more I think it will be a linebacker in free agency. But again, it's very hard for me to say until I know what we signed Daniel Jones for, how much of that salary is going against the cap this year, Barkley, everything else. So I don't know how much we're going to have freed up. And honestly, I don't know what Edmonds' market's going to be. Like, you can go on Spot Track. They can tell you one thing. I remember I used to look at Spot Track when I first started on YouTube during the 2019 offseason, and one player that I said time and time again in all my videos that I really wanted was Darius Smith, based off the projected market that Spot Track had him for. And he ended up signing a record-breaking contract, and the Giants.
And every time we watched Darius Smith, he was killing it.
Yeah, he would always kill it. After they brought him, but so you can't go by what they project. At the end of the day, if a team really likes a player, they're going to spend whatever they got to spend to get him. So I don't know what Tremaine Edmonds' market's going to be, but yeah, he makes sense, Baddog, for the simple reason he comes from Buffalo.
Right?
So and he plays a position that we desperately need, and he's talented and he's young, so he makes sense for sure.
Yep, no doubt about it, man.
Bradley Jones says, "Thanks, guys, for a great season. It was fun hanging with y'all. Plus, I got a new diet thanks to Baddog. Let's hope for a great offseason. That's awesome, Bradley. Hopefully,
it's kicking ass, Bradley. That's what it's all about, my man.
Hopefully, it's going well for you, man.
Yeah,
and Independent says, psych for free agency and the draft. Shane wants to fill the talent gap versus the Eagles for 2023, but is it possible with the Eagles having another top 10 pick this year? I'm going to say no, if I'm being completely honest, Independent. This year, I don't think we're closing the gap. Now, maybe we could beat them. As if this team improves, and we all know Dable's a good head coach. I'm not saying that maybe we can find a way to beat them a game next year, but I still think we're 2 years away from catching the Eagles from a talent standpoint. I mean, you look at that team, Baddog. I gotta be honest with you.
They're good everywhere.
Their two wide receivers are far and away much better than any of ours. They have a better tight end. Their offensive line might be the best in the league. Ours is among one of the worst.
Yeah.
Their defensive line is better,
and their secondary is pretty good too.
You got to be honest. It's not. I don't think we're going to catch them in 1 year. Especially, we're not going to go out and spend a ton of free agency either. So this is a team we want to build through the draft.
So I went to Spot Track just to see it. And Tremaine Edwards' market value is 4 years, $44 million.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I'm like, it's going to be more than that.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get. And I hope.
Roquan Smith, not that he's Roquan Smith. Roquan got 5 years, $100 million?
Yeah. Yep. Something like that. If I had to guess, Edmonds will get probably in the $16 million range. I don't think it's going to be 11. I think it's going to be more than that. But if we get him for 11, for sure. But like I said, you can't go off Spot Track.
Yeah.
But when it comes to free agency, you can't go off Spot Track.
No.
Harry Adams says, hey, Chris and Bad Dog, how are you guys? It was a good season. This is an important draft for us. Linebacker and wide receiver is an absolute must. We need big players. Yeah, I agree. Listen, there's needs all over this team, but I in terms of the most depleted position on this team, it's those two. It's the wide receiver and the linebacker. We don't have a linebacker right now. I mean, maybe Beavers can become that, but we don't have a linebacker on this team right now that I say, yeah, that guy's a quality starting linebacker in the National Football League.
Definitely not.
And the same thing really for the wide receiver. I mean, I like Hodgins and maybe Wandell could, return from the injury and play well, but we certainly need a number one wide receiver. So I agree. Those are the two biggest needs. We also need interior offensive line help though. And we have needs all over. Cornerback. We do. I could even get greedy and say we need another edge rusher because I think we do. So we need so much, and it's that's why it's going to take a few years, Harry. But we'll get there because I trust Dable to get the most out of the guys we select, and I think we got a smart guy making the decisions with Joe Shane. So I think we're going to get there.
I guess it's good and it's bad because when you're picking where we are, you like we talked about, you just take best player available. You have so many needs. You take BPA, unless it's if you're bringing back Daniel Jones and as a quarterback, you don't take the quarterback, or any position you need, any of those positions, interior line, middle linebacker, cornerback, wide receiver, whoever you have, like Chris said, whoever you have highest on your board for all your picks, that's where you go. You're not just targeting one position. You're not going, we absolutely have to have a wide receiver at 25. So we'll see. And again, a lot of that hinges on what they do in free agency. If they bring in a Tremaine Edmonds, then you don't need to get that linebacker. I mean, you go to a different direction. If you trade for DeAndre Hopkins or whatever, you wouldn't need a number one wide receiver. Maybe you still would. Maybe they would trade for DeAndre Hopkins and still take a number one. You can't have enough of those. We saw that last year. How many we had 4 starters and none of them ended up playing. None of them ended up in the field at the end of the year.
It's true. No Fly Zone coming in with I think he's posted about 8 things negative about Daniel Jones since. Let's just get the Daniel Jones thing out of the way since it's inevitable when it comes up. He says you just explained every reason not to bring back Daniel Jones. Why? Because there's needs all over the team. If anything, I think it actually argues quite the opposite. The fact that
so the people that don't want Daniel Jones because there's holes all over, so you want to create another one. By getting rid of your quarterback. Okay.
Let's bring in the 5th drafted quarterback in the draft and put him into a situation.
Or let's just have Tyrod Taylor play because he never gets hurt around.
I think Tyrod Taylor would do great. I think we'd win 100 games with Tyrod Taylor.
I'm sure a Super Bowl contender with him behind the center.
I always say I'm willing to listen to solutions at the quarterback position that if people come up with a good suggestion, I would love to hear it for next year.
I say it all the time. Tell me a better option.
Because if you tell me Tyrod Taylor, you might as well just tell me that you're trying to lose as many games as you possibly can. So don't tell me that. If you tell me Derek Carr, I'll tell you he's 32 years old and he's probably going to have the same market as Daniel Jones and he's never played in this offensive scheme. If you tell me Jimmy Garoppolo, I'll tell you the same thing. And if you tell me that we should trade up for a quarterback in the draft, I'll call you a lunatic with all the other holes we have on this team if we're going to surrender draft capital. But if you could come up with a better suggestion than Daniel Jones, I'd love to hear it.
Correct. That's all I'm at. That's all I'm saying. Since you all think Daniel Jones is a hindrance to the team and we lose in spite of him and he's the main problem, I don't know which team you're watching, but I said if you have a better solution than Daniel Jones, I would love to hear it too. Instead of just he stinks, he's mid. Well, tell me how you find somebody above mid, because a middle-range quarterback, Daniel Jones being the 15th best quarterback in the league, you can win with that.
And this is the other thing. When this is the other thing I disagree with. When people and I understand like where they're coming from. Daniel Campbell says losing DJ sets us back more than paying him $30 million. Actually, no, you're agreeing with us. I read that wrong. I see a lot of people say paying Daniel Jones $30 million sets us back more than just letting him go. That I completely disagree with, because fans act like Baddog.
$30 million against the cap, but that's not how it works.
And they act like this team is going to build through free agency.
Right.
We're not signing anybody the next couple of years. We're building through the draft.
You don't build through free agency anyway. So these guys that say that, they don't understand how you build a football team. Gettleman tried to do that, and it backfired miserably. You take one free agent, you use them as pieces. You don't build through free agency. You don't bring a bunch of guys from a bunch of different teams and throw them together and go, there you go. I mean, the Eagles' dream team, how many years ago was that? They brought all these guys in. Oh, they're going to do this. Well, they went 4 games.
Yeah.
Right. You build through the draft. You build your nucleus. You let those guys play together for years. You get a chemistry, and then you take, if you're the 49ers, you go out and you trade for a Christian McCaffrey. If you're the Eagles, you go out and you trade for an A.J. Brown. That's when you do it. When you're already set up, when you're already a successful team and have a successful roster, or a good roster, great roster, that's when you go out and get those key pieces. You don't do it when you need corners, interior linemen, linebackers, and wide receivers.
You know, the funniest thing I see, Bad, though, because I've gotten into debates with people on Twitter all year about this. And all of a sudden, a lot of these people, obviously No Fly Zone's not one of these people, and other people still don't see my side of it. But now all of a sudden, I'm seeing a lot of the people that went into like hour-long debates with me on Twitter saying I was dumb, or not everybody, but some guys would say you're dumb, they'll never do that. Now I'm seeing a lot of these same guys, and some of them are respectful. I'm not saying all of them are like that. Now I'm seeing these same guys say the same exact talking point that I've said. I went on Twitter yesterday, and the guy said they're going to treat Daniel Jones like the Chiefs treated Alex Smith. That's what we've been saying all year.
Right.
We've been, and we hope he could develop into more than Alex Smith. But what we've been saying is we have to copy the Chiefs model. You keep Daniel Jones on the team. You build up the team. You find out if Daniel Jones can become that elite quarterback. If by the time the team is ready to compete, he is not, that's when you do whatever you got to do to get that quarterback that could win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah. The Chiefs traded up from 27th to 10th to get Mahomes. And that's why you give Daniel Jones a 4-year deal, because by the time you build the team up, you'll know if he's your guy.
Yeah.
And then you can get rid of him after 2 years if he's not the guy. If you've built the team up and you're like, okay, we need to go out and improve that position, then you do. That's why the 4-year contract is there. You get out after 2. If he is the guy and they start winning and they're winning 14 games and they're on their way to the Super Bowl, then you could say, okay, now we're going to pay even more money. Yeah. Because you would have built around him and you can afford to give him more money. That's why this 4-year deal, which is what Chris and I say, I'm not giving him listen, I'm not saying give Daniel Jones 6 years, $240 million. Okay. If some team gives him that, I feel like you got to let him walk.
We'll tag him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Right. If it gets to that point, we'll tag him. But Big Moose says, I think Wink and Kafka want to see this out. Yeah, let's talk about that. I think that's a good topic. I think Wink and Kafka want to see this out for another season or two. Can only help their own value. Wink doesn't seem he's leaving. The other one that got an interview today was actually Tierney.
Coach. Yeah, offensive coordinator for Tampa. Is that where he's
Yeah. So our quarterback coach also got an interview with another team. I'm going to actually disagree with you, Big Moo, on this. I think if they get offered a head coaching job, they're going to take it.
Especially Wink, because Wink has been around forever and he's never been a head coach, and he might not get another opportunity.
Yeah, I think both of them, because like head coaching money in the NFL is like so much more than coordinator money, and it's what these guys are their dreams are to become a head coach. So you never know. Like Baddog, think about it like, from a player standpoint, like Dexter Lawrence this year had a career year, right? Let's say next year he gets hurt. He's not going to make near as much money than he would this year, which is probably why he's going to try to make as much as he possibly can this year. He's going to try to get out of that $10 million commitment that the Giants signed him to before the year started. It's the same thing for a coach. This year, things are hot for Kafka, right? People saw that Daniel Jones turned it around. The offense went from the league's worst to like middle of the pack. Well, he was the offensive coordinator, so teams are looking. They're like, wow, look how much he helped improve that team. Let me give him a look. What happens next year if Daniel Jones gets hurt week 3? And suddenly this offense doesn't look as hot, and the New York Giants win 5 or 6 games. Suddenly people aren't knocking on your door to be a head coach. So it's why I think Kafka, if he gets offered a job, he's going to take it. Yeah. I don't think he's going to get it, though, because he had 3 second interviews, one of which already got vacated by, what's his name, the former coach for the Colts, Frank Reich. He got a job. And now it's down to Houston, and everybody's saying with Houston, they look like they want to hire DeMeco Ryans. Like, that seems to be the big favorite, the defensive coordinator from the 49ers. So if they hire him, then it's down to just the Colts. And the Colts were interested in both of them. We'll see there. You never know what Jim Irsay, but I think in the end, they're both going to be back. Who knows what happens with the QB coach? Maybe he does get the offensive coordinator job, but I think they're going to both be back. I don't think we're going to lose them. But weirder things have happened, but I think they'll both be back.
I think they'll both be back too, but like you said, you mentioned Dexter Lawrence. It's the same thing as Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's dealt with injury. He had a great year. Running backs usually only have a very small window because they're past their prime at 29 years old. So, Saquon Barkley obviously would want his money. If the Giants tag Daniel Jones, they don't tag Saquon Barkley, and they say, here's 3 years, $40 million. Well, Saquon Barkley is going to see if he can get, 4 years, $60 million. 5 years, $80 million. If somebody's going to offer him that, he's going to take it because, again, that's, when you have the opportunity, you have to strike while the iron's hot. But yeah, I think they'll both be back. And then we'll see. But if Kafka goes, we've talked about before, this is mostly Daboll's system. So Daboll might call the plays next year and they'll figure something out.
Yeah. But I mean, there's always a chance, but I'm leaning there. I think we're going to get both those guys back. And if I had to guess, Mara's going to end up paying them more money. And I think Renan talked about that today. Like, I think they're going to give them, not quite head coach money, but they're going to give them more money to make sure that they stay here and that they're happy.
Well, that could definitely be.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's what they're going to do. Gemini says, when Daboll gave Daniel that pep talk after he was looking for Saquon that led to an interception, he gave Daniel confidence. Daboll gave everyone confidence. I mean, the biggest confidence builder for me was when they went for 2 at the end of that game. But I mean, and you saw Don, you saw him do that throughout the course of the year with Slayton. The game where he dropped the pass against the Vikings in the playoffs, he came about it differently. He still showed, he encouraged him rather than yelling at him when Slayton was down on himself. But you saw that all year with Daboll. He was able to manage the players very well in terms of their emotions and everything else. So yeah, that was definitely a really good characteristic.
He's definitely a player's coach
with Brian Daboll.
He's a very fiery guy.
Yeah.
And you see that he gets pissed, which, I appreciate.
And he gets pumped too when they win.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that personality. But, when we talk to Patricia Traynor, and she knows better than we do because she's in the locker room. She talks to these guys all the time. And she says that he listens to players' input and he wants to know what they like to do. Obviously, that player's going to put a lot of trust in the head coach, and the head coach puts a lot of trust in the players. And you put trust in the players, it gives them confidence. And again, that's just, I've said this a million times too. Confidence is not measured in a Madden rating. And I don't care if you're playing football. I don't care if you're playing. I don't care what you're doing. You will do it better if you have confidence in what you're doing as opposed to being unconfident.
I want to say thank you to Dire Giants fan, man. And I've been planning on, I took a lot of the offseason off last year, and I definitely am. I plan on doing some offseason stuff with you guys. With the members. So I'm probably going to do some mock drafts with you guys privately and stuff. And I appreciate you for doing that, Dyer. He just gifted 5 members. So congratulations. I see the guys that got it. Talk with Zoe. You got a month membership. I appreciate it. Timothy, Brandon, and Rafael DeLuna. And
yeah, he's the man. He does that in my streams too.
And Dylan. So I appreciate that, Dard, man. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, he's the man.
And Rico Tuat says we will be from the draft and had a few free agents. We will be from the draft and had a few. Well, when I say we're not going to build through free agency, I don't know if that's what you're alluding to. It was hard for me to pick up what you were saying there, but we're going to obviously sign some free agents. You have to fill out the roster. I just mean we're not going to our core players, the guys we're going to build around, like when people talk about he's going to ruin the cap by the year 2024, 2025, the free agents that we spend money on this year probably won't be here in 2 years. They're going to be like stopgap players to fill out the roster, kind of like we did this past offseason. They're building the core of this team, the future of this team through the draft.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do.
The best teams do.
Bob Murphy says, what up? Predictions for Sunday, go Birds. I got to pick the Niners, and it has nothing to do with why I hate your Eagles. I had the Niners before the year started to win the Super Bowl, so I got to stick with that. So,
yeah, I have the Niners.
I won't be surprised if the Eagles win, though. You guys are playing really well right now, so I'm going to go with the Niners 27-24.
I have 24-17 Niners, and yeah, let's go.
I think it'll be a really good game. I think both games are going to be really good. Grim says, don't think Shane says Saquon is after press conference. I don't think Shane pays, Saquon after his press conference. He acted much differently than with DJ. He did. I said this to Bad Dog, I think, on Patricia Train's stream, and I don't remember. I think somebody said this to me on Twitter. I'm like, wow, that was a great point. I don't remember who it was. Otherwise, I'd give them credit for it. But it made a lot of sense. When Dable said what he said, I'm sorry, not Dable. Shane said what he said. A lot of people said that slipped out. I don't think that slipped out. I think that was intentional. It came out twice in the same sentence where he said, Daniel Jones will be back. Daniel Jones will be back.
Yep.
And what I think that was Shane saying to Daniel Jones' agent,
we tag you.
We're going to tag him if we can't work something out. He's going to be a Giant no matter what, and we'll tag him if we have to. I really think that was the point he was trying to get across to his agent. When it came to Barkley, you're absolutely right. He was not nearly as definitive. He said he was a good player. He actually went out of his way, and we all know Barkley's a great player, but he's not trying to lose leverage either. So I think Shane's smart in terms of negotiations. But he said Saquon's a good player, and in the very next sentence, he said he's great in the locker room. Mm-hmm. I think that was deliberate too. Like he wasn't going above and beyond in his praise for Saquon Barkley. So I agree with you, Grim. I think what he basically said, I'm willing to pay Saquon, but I'm not willing to go over my walk-away price. That's what he said.
And he shouldn't. Listen, I love Saquon. You do. Yeah. I know a lot of people. He's a very talented guy. But in the grand scheme of things, running back is one of your, less important positions when you're building a championship team. It really is. Unless it's like the one thing you need. Like the 49ers felt like they needed to go get Christian McCaffrey, so they got him. Yeah. But even Wilson is pretty good. Like they have they're just, you can win with a Tony Pollard. You can win with a Josh Jacobs. You can win with, middle of the road running backs. I'd rather have a middle of the road running back than, a bad quarterback or whatever. So, if you need to put money in different positions and you don't want to pay your running back $15 million a year, I get that.
Yeah.
Quarterback's way more important than the running back is. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. I hope they could bring them both back. But I would understand it. Grim says, and I want to read the rest of it. Franchise tag or let him walk. They have too many holes and have to pay AT Dex top market deals. I think there's a deal they're willing to give him, but it's not going to be the deal that Saquon wants. I think they're going to be, it came out. They were willing to go 12 to 12 and a half, probably over 3 or 4 years. But Saquon's going to want 15 or 16, if I had to guess. And the question is Shane going to be willing to beat him at 13 or 14? And if he is, maybe he does come back on a 3-year deal with a 2-year out, something like that. But I think for them to even get to that point, Grim, because I think that is possible. I think we could sign Saquon to like a 3-year, $39 million deal, 25 guaranteed, maybe 28 guaranteed, and you could get out after 2 years if he gets hurt or whatever, if you want to move on. I think we could get to that point, but I don't think we could get to that point before we franchise tag him. Because if you don't, Yeah, because if you don't tag Barkley, Barkley's going to say, I can hit the open market. Somebody's going to give me $60 million.
Right.
But if you tag him, you might be able to negotiate him down to like a 3 for $39 deal before the year starts, and he'll be at least content with that. Right. But the thing is, you're not going to be able to tag Saquon Barkley if you can't sign Daniel Jones before the tag deadline.
Right.
So you got to get that deal done first before you can even use the tag on Saquon Barkley. Otherwise, you got to use the tag on Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So right. that's what they got to figure out.
Yeah. Somebody said leading rusher is a middle of the road running back. That's not what I said.
He didn't say he was a middle of the road. He said no. But let me tell you what Bad Dog said. Bad Dog said I would rather have a middle of the road running back and have a good quarterback than have a middle of the road quarterback and have a good running back.
Right.
That's what he said.
I'd rather have a middle of the road running back and a great offensive line than a weaker offensive line and a great running back. That's
what he said.
It's just not. It's not the most important position. Kansas City won a Super Bowl. Who was their running back when they won the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, who was? Who was the Rams running back last year?
It's true.
I mean, Cam Akers is good, but is he?
Diehard, dude. All right, Diehard. I'm going to have a member stream this week, man. He's handing out members like they're going out of style.
He's the man.
Diehard, man. Thank you very much, man. I'm going to have a member stream this week. So look out in the community notes. I'll definitely have a member stream. Diehard, man. Thank you so much, man. And I'm getting close to that 24-hour stream I know you've been waiting for. I got to get about another 4,500 subs or whatever. But thank you so much, Diehard, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Talking Eco says, I love Shane and Dable's attitude. They see this season as a stepping stone, not an end. They see the talent gap and will fill through the draft.
Yeah, exactly what you're supposed to do.
Listen, the thing that I love about Shane this year is he hasn't changed based off of pressure. He had pressure from the fan base to trade for a wide receiver. He said, no, I'm sticking to the plan. He went out of his way not to backload salaries, right? So I think he's done a tremendous job with all that, Bad Dog, and I don't think he's going to change. I think he's got a long-term vision, the way that he wants to build this team, and he's going to stick to it, which is more than you could say for Dave Gettleman. So we're off to a really good start from that.
Yeah, point. I don't know if Gettleman ever actually had a direction.
He might have had like a year-to-year plan, but he didn't have like a 4-year plan.
Right. Yeah.
You know, at least that's the way it feels.
It seems like he, like you said, a year-to-year thing where he had a direction one year. It's like, oh, that didn't work. Let's scratch that and go this way. Oh, that didn't work. Let's scratch that and do this. And that's why we just treaded water for 4 years. Actually, we kind of sunk. We weren't even treading. We were sinking. And yeah, I just feel like these guys aren't going to waver from their plan. And I feel like they know what they want to do, and they're going to do what they have to do it.
For sure. And let me get to the next guy. Andrew Christopher. Hi. What's up, Andrew Christopher, man? Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well, man. Excited, man. Excited to talk Giants football with you this offseason. He's been with us forever, always supporting us. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think he's a truck driver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, but Andrew, man, thank you very much, man. Diego Ortiz says, hey, guys, everyone say to trade for a wide receiver, but what are your thoughts on trading up for a wide receiver in the draft like Johnson or Addison? I don't want to trade up. For listen, if they do, they do. I'll be like, okay, they believe in this guy, they're willing to do it. But personally, I want the Giants to keep as many draft picks as they can get. I still think you could get a talented player there at 25. But it all depends. Like if they have Jordan Addison way above everybody else and they feel like they can move up to 17 and get him, okay. But ideally, I'd prefer not to trade up. If anything, I'd like to trade back and get more future draft capital with all the other holes we have in this team. Mm-hmm. But I'd probably just prefer to stay there at 25 and make the selection. But yeah, that's not my preference. My preference is to stay there. I think there will be a wide receiver there if they want to go wide receiver that is worthy of taking with that 25th pick. When you look at a lot of these mocks, it seems like corners and wide receiver, that seems to be like the value spot in terms of what we need and what's projected to go where we're picking. So I think it's going to either be a corner or wide receiver if I had to guess, Diego. But yeah, I don't think they'll trade up, but I would never rule it out. And you got to see what they do in free agency before we could speculate. Who knows? Maybe they trade for like an established wide receiver, and then you say, well, they're not, so you got to see what they do before.
This wide receiver class is very deep, though. Like I still think they can get a great wide receiver at 25. So we'll see. And again, none of it is dependent on what the Giants do in free agency. It depends on what these other teams do in free agency. If other teams that need wide receivers go out and get a wide receiver, or they have other needs, and the quarterbacks are going to go. You got to have 4 quarterbacks go. The Anthony Richardson's going to go. Will Levis, Bryce Young from Alabama, C.J. Stroud. They're all gonna go, and there's gonna be like Will Anderson's gonna go very early. He'll probably go. Yeah. He'll probably go to the Bears. I'm guessing the Bears are gonna take Will Anderson, but who knows?
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way, dire Giants fan, man, I'm gonna give you something. We'll talk during the member stream, but I'm gonna give you something nice. So I got a prize I'm gonna give to you. I just wanted to let you know. Unpopular Opinion Sports says NYG22 question is, do you guys think we should double up on edge and tackle in round 1? Would you be mad if we did? Yeah, I got to talk to you on Twitter today, man. I know you got go and check him out. He's got a YouTube channel, man, but I've talked to you in Twitter Spaces as well, and I think he asked me this question on Twitter as well. Would I don't want to take a tackle this year, and I understand like kind of where you're coming from, because Evan Neal struggled this year, and some Giants fans have brought up the thought process of potentially shifting Evan Neal to the guard because they feel like he'd be better suited playing that position. But for me, I think the Giants showed clear belief in Evan Neal to play the tackle spot when they took him at 7. I think that's the position that he's meant to play. And I think, I think we saw with Andrew Thomas, and I'm not saying he's going to be Andrew Thomas because that's a tall order, but I think we saw with Andrew Thomas, it could take time to develop at that position. So for me, I think you also got to factor in when it comes to Evan Neal, it's not just him. It's every player in that offense is dealing with a new offensive system, right? They're all learning it, including the quarterback. And that influences offensive line play as well. Evan Neal got hurt. He's a rookie. He's playing on the right side. He was playing left side the year before in college. So for me, it's like, I got to give this guy another year, play on the right side. And I don't even need him to be a finished product next year. I just need to see growth. And then I say, let's rock and roll. Let's keep growing going into year 3. But for me, I don't really have interest in taking a tack early. I believe in Evan Neal. I think he's going to get better. The interior part of the line, I'd be open to it. I mean, it wouldn't be my preference to take a center in the first round, but if they did, I wouldn't be upset. I mean, I don't think from what I've seen, there's probably a center prospect that should go in the first round. At least that's what the mocks are saying right now. I haven't dove deep into it. So I probably would prefer either a wide receiver or a corner, maybe a linebacker with that first pick. But, yeah, I don't want to take a tackle. As far as the edge goes, if you're in love with an edge prospect, I'm not going to cry if you take him. I mean, the more edge rushers, the merrier. We've seen how Aziz has gotten banged up. And if they think that edge prospect is so much better than anybody else on their board, have at it. I don't think that's what they're going to do, though. I think they're going to go wide receiver or corner, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'm fine with their tackles. I think Evan Neal will be fine. He dealt with some injuries this year. He's a rookie. And again, Andrew Thomas struggled this first year too. So I expect Evan Neal to improve. I don't expect him to be Andrew Thomas. It'd be great if we had 2 all-pro tackles. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, I feel like they drafted Evan Neal last year with the 7th pick. I can't see him taking another tackle this year's draft because we just do have so many other holes in this team. So I think wide receiver is probably where they're going first, if I had to guess.
Wide receiver or corner. That's what I'm thinking. Based off the value from what I'm seeing thus far, and the fact that Shane has expressed that he's a positional value guy. So for me, that means more than likely wide receiver, corner over linebacker, or center, if I had to guess. Michael, stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you to everybody for being here, man. I appreciate all you guys. We still have over 600 people in here, man. The season's over. You guys still supporting us. I'll definitely be live throughout the offseason. We'll definitely be doing the show. Probably after the Super Bowl, that's where we'll pick it up again. Because the next couple of weeks, playoff football, whatever else. I'm sure I'll go live, maybe next week at some point. I'll be live for the Knicks tomorrow. Anybody's interested, I'll be doing my first Knicks game, I think, since opening season, the opening game. Because I wanted to focus on the Giants in season, so looking forward to that as well. And Dyard says, gotta even this out. Hold on. Oh, was he talking about the members? Man, Dyard, you didn't have to do that, man. I appreciate it, man.
He's the man. He is the man.
Thank you, Dyard, man. I appreciate all the support you always show on both of our channels, man. And Deal says, thoughts on Julian Love-McKinney duo, 1 game. Money, duo money. Well, 1 gone. I read it as 1 game. Deal, I could tell you what I think they're going to do, and I could tell you what I think they should do. I think he has a walkaway price, like he said in the press conference, for both Saquon Barkley and Julian Love. But I think they want to bring back Julian Love. They view him as a leader. If it was me, as much as I like Julian Love, I don't think I would sign him. Because how much money are you going to dedicate to the safety spot? You just drafted Dane Belton last year, and you could always find value at that safety position throughout the draft. There's a price I'd be willing to sign him for, but I think Julian Love's going to want more than the price I'd be willing to give him. So if he's able to get more than $8 million on the open market, I'd let him go. I'd let him go, and I get my comp pick. That's just me. But obviously the Giants seem to value him. So I don't know how high they value him in terms of dollar amount. So I'm leaning he's going to be back. There were rumors they were already talking to him. Patricia Traina, when we talked to her yesterday, seems like they're going to sign him. It'll come down to the contract for me, whether I agree with it or don't. But I'm not like gung-ho for Julian Love. It depends on the money for me.
Yeah. I mean, and it depends on the money for them. Like Shane said, at the end of the day, it's a business. So
yeah,
they got to do what's best for the team, and the players got to do what's best for them. So, if they can come to an agreement, awesome. But if they can't, you got bigger fish to fry. You got to get your quarterback done. That's first and foremost, and then you kind of see where you go from there.
Yeah, and I like Julian Love too. I think he's a good player, but I don't know. You got the McKinney contract coming up. I don't know. Grizzly, stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad. Thank you so much. Thank you to all for all the memberships tonight, man. I appreciate it, guys. And Lifestyle Rel says, I feel like the Giants have to trade for an established wide receiver in the offseason. I mean, ideally, I would love that, Rel, if it made sense. I would love to bring an established wide receiver. And I think it would, if they were going to go that route, I think it would have to be via trade because there's not like a difference maker. There's some nice wide receivers that you could bring in here and could probably play as like a solid number 2 or 3 maybe, but there's not like a difference maker. If you're going to add a difference maker, it's going to be via trade in terms of an established wide receiver. But it's going to come down to their price, and it's going to come down to like their fit for what the type of offense we're looking to run, their age, their injury history. All that's going to be taken into account by Joe Shane. In Fantasyland, like everybody's been saying, sure, let's go get Brandon Ayuk. Let's go get Brandon Ayuk. But they got to want to trade Brandon Ayuk. I don't think that's happening. So we'll see. I'm sure if a good opportunity presents itself, Shane will be open to it. But at the same time, the right opportunity's got to be there, right? Shane showed you, right? And Ruben, man, thank you so much. Stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad, man. Always talk to him on Twitter as well. Shane showed you, Rel, during the trade deadline that he's not going to just force a trade. So I would expect the same thing this offseason. Like, he'll make a trade if there's a trade there, but he's not going to force it.
I wanted to ask you this. This was a good one. So I saw a comment the other day on my my live stream. It was a comment left afterwards. And some guy says, Giants should draft Hooker or Bennett if available. How about that? What do you think about that?
Stetson Bennett?
Stetson Bennett or Malik Hooker. How much does that guy hate Daniel Jones?
Who said this comment?
This was Hector Marino. Giants should draft Hooker or Bennett available. And I thought to myself, that has got to be one of the most ignorant, ridiculous comments I've ever read in my life. Number one, Hendon Hooker is 25, and he just tore his freaking ACL.
Hooker is older than Daniel Jones.
Right. And he just tore his ACL, so he's going to be behind a year. So he won't get into the league till he's almost 27. And Stetson Bennett sucks. He's another one that's like 26.
Yeah.
And he's terrible. I read that and go, God almighty. I mean, could you hate Daniel Jones more that you would rather replace that guy with Hendon Hooker or Stetson Bennett? That was insane. That was insane.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. No, Stetson Bennett is not equal to Daniel Jones. No fly zone. I know. Like when you watch college football, you think that, but no, he's not equal to Daniel Jones.
Holy cow! You even watching college football, he's not equal. To
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, that just shows you these guys don't understand football. I'm sorry. Yeah. If you think Stetson Bennett's on the same level, Daniel Jones, you just hate Daniel Jones. It's okay. We know what you are. You hate Daniel Jones. Yeah. To say Stetson Bennett, you don't watch college football. You don't understand college football, and you must not understand the quarterback position if you think
that's a perfect comparison. By the way, Third and Schlong, which is a great name too. Third and Schlong, I like that. Good play on words. Bennett equals Brandon Whedon. Yeah, Brandon Whedon was like 28 when he came into the league. Very similar. Yes, Brandon Whedon was a great collegiate player, older collegiate player.
He also played baseball, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Phenopolis says 4 more days wearing the stupid green bird hat. Oh, I guess you lost a bet. Oh, yeah, that's right. I think he told us that. Yeah.
That's rough.
Tudo says massive salutes and respects to Tane and Baddog. All dire Giants fans in the building. Please slap all the stinky Boyd's losers out the door. Let's go, Tudo. Hopefully
let's hope so, Tudo. Let's hope that it's the Niners that slap him out in the dough.
That'd be nice, right? That'd be nice. Dominic says, "What's the next Giants jersey you got?" Okay, so I've kind of been back and forth. I wanted to get an Evan Neal jersey at the beginning of the year, but I went with the cave on, and I'm glad I did. I'll probably have like call-in shows during the offseason. Not quite yet. Right now, I'm popular because there's not a whole lot to talk about. But I'll probably have call-in shows where I have some like smaller YouTubers I've never had on before during the draft process. And yeah, I'd love to have you on. As far as the next Giants jersey that I'm gonna get, Dominic, I think I'm gonna get a Dexter Lawrence jersey. I love Sexy Dexy. I think I'm gonna get a Dexter Lawrence because I've got Kayvon, I've got Jones, I've got Barkley. Yeah, I think I'm getting a Sexy Dexy, Bad Dog. What about you?
That's a good question. I kept saying Tiki Barber because I've been advocating for him to get in the Hall of Fame. Current Giant, I don't know. Might have to see who we draft this year.
Yeah,
might have to see who.
Maybe you go with that wide receiver jersey.
I always like defensive players, so that's. I got the McKinney last year.
So go with the Sexy Dexy.
Yeah, but I'm more of a secondary guy.
You got a cave on? You got a cave on.
Right? I don't have a cave on. No, I got McKinney. McKinney was the guy that I got.
Get the cave on then. Get the cave on.
I thought about getting Azeez Ojulari, but the dude is hurt all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like to get like the guys that aren't like thought of first. You know what I mean? I always try to get like, I don't want to say McKinney's a secondary guy, but when you think of a team, you don't usually think of the safety first. So I usually try to go like that route where it's more of a secondary position. And I always loved the safeties. I used to just collect safety jerseys, like Steve Atwater. I had his jersey. I have Rod Woodson's jersey.
Ed Reed?
I did not have an Ed Reed jersey because I hated the Baltimore Ravens.
That was like the golden age of safeties.
I had a Chuck Cecil jersey from the I had a David Fulcher Bengals jersey. I just loved the safeties in the late 80s, early 90s. I never found a Joey Browner jersey. That was one I always wanted. I always liked him for Minnesota. Obviously, Sehorn started as a safety. I got his jersey. I got a Kenny Phillips jersey from the Giants.
There's some other great safeties. John Lynch was a great safety. He was a hard hitter.
Yeah,
Troy Polamalu, one of my favorite players.
I love Polamalu. Don't have that jersy, but because when I was younger, I went to Champion Outlet. They were $5, and
there you go.
I just bought a bunch of them. But yeah, I liked a lot of those.
Did you mention Ronnie Lott?
No, I didn't have a Ronnie Lott.
Greatest safety of all
time.
I
loved Ronnie Lott. I hated the 49ers. So I could not wear a 49ers jersey.
Yeah,
I couldn't stand the 49ers. Back then,
I'll say this: Troy Polamalu, I feel like as great as he was, he would be even better today. Like he was, like you think about the speed and all of his versatility, the way he would even fit better in today's NFL. So he was one of my favorite players. I used to love watching Troy Polamalu.
No Fly Zone says DJ. I can't read it because it just flipped off the screen. DJ is equal to what Bennett was in college, and that's a fact. Yeah, okay. Well, Bennett plays for the two-time defending champion Georgia Bulldogs, and Daniel Jones played for Duke. The fact that they're equal tells you Stetson Bennett's terrible. So you just defeated yourself, buddy. You can hold the L. The fact that you just said Jones, who played at Duke, is equal to Bennett. Georgia just had two freaking championships
at this point, Bad Dog, it's not even worth talking to these guys anymore.
I just thought that was hilarious.
Let them still hold out the hope that we're gonna actually not sign Jones, and then they'll have to face reality when we sign him, and we'll talk about it.
Oh, man, go with another team, like Jeffrey Abbey already said. If number 8, because I was watching Tim's stream the other night, and Jeffrey Abbey said, if number 8 comes back, I'm not going to root for them. I have to take some years off. Bye. You're not a fan.
See ya.
No. Right.
Yeah. Peter says, has the Pocky one chip. Yes, I got to do that this week. I mean, I got all off season to do it, Peter, but it'll be done. It'll be done.
I have to look at that thing because I don't know what the hell
It'll be done. It'll be done. Phenopolis says my all-time most worn jersey is Rodney Hampton. I didn't have it.
Is this one big chip? Like, what is this?
It's like a big chip that comes in like a silver package.
Okay, so I see Packy one chip challenge. There's a Walmart thing. It's $19.
Yeah, it's like $20 for one of them.
What the hell is it?
And so basically, it's like the hottest thing you'll ever eat.
The Reaper pepper shows no mercy. Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, so
it's Reaper pepper.
Tons of people have made YouTube videos. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to own up to the bet. I said at the beginning of the year, if they win a playoff game, I'll do it. And I'm going to. We'll see. Maybe next week, I think I'll do it. I'm trying to stall as long as I can, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to have a big thing of milk next to me when I do it. And there's no way I'm staying on stream the full 30, 40 minutes, however long it takes for me to get my mouth, back to normal again. But you'll see my reaction for about a good 10 minutes. Matter of fact, maybe I'll do that. What'd you say?
I just said, wow.
Maybe you know what I think I'm going to do, Bad Dog? This is what I'm going to do. And I will show the reaction for everybody else that wants to see it. But the people who are going to first see my reaction, I'm going to do it on a member stream.
There you go.
There you go. That's what I'm going to give you, Diehard. You're going to get to see my reaction with that if you want. Phenopolis says my all-time most worn jersey is Rodney Hampton. I wish I had a Rodney Hampton
jersey. A good
jersey.
one.
I wish I had a Rodney Hampton jersey. And We Got Time says, what's up, fellas? What inside linebacker is high on your draft list? And are we all in agreement? Hodgins for sure needs to be back next year. As always, pleasure watching him.
Hodgins is under contract. He's coming back.
Yeah, technically he's not under contract, but he is. Like, it's Patricia Traynor was explaining it to us yesterday. So like they have the option to like basically give him like a league min contract.
Yeah.
And he'll be able to he'll be back with the New York Giants. So he's going to be back. He played too well. He's definitely going to be back.
He did, yeah, definitely. He'll definitely be back.
Let's see what we got. There's no doubt about it. He played too good and he doesn't cost anything, so he'll be back. And Dyer says, okay, fellas, which one am I getting first? Tana loving the Hogs and Bad Dog being a defense guy. Am I getting Kayvon or Thomas? Ooh. You can't go wrong with either one.
Chris has both of them. Chris actually has both of those jerseys.
I do. You can't go wrong with either one. I mean, they're both
true.
They're both going to be all-world players. I'm completely sold on Kayvon. I think there's still some Giants fans that are a little bit like on the edge. Like, I don't know how good this.
He's a disruptor. I mean, listen, I heard Carl Banks mention Lawrence Taylor when he was talking about Kayvon. I was like, wow, that's a. And Carl Banks would understand he played next to Lawrence Taylor for years. I'm not willing to go that far, but Kayvon is very disruptive, and he is a high energy guy. And it took him a little while to get his feet wet. Remember, he dealt with a freaking knee injury and a low block in preseason. He missed the first, whatever it was, 2.5 weeks of the year, or 3. He missed pretty much all of. He missed. I forgot what that happened, but he missed a lot of training camp. And then he missed the first 2 weeks. And then he came back against Dallas, and he didn't do much. And was like, oh, he's a bust. He's a bust. He only has 1 sack. Well, Kayvon Thibodeau is a major reason we got to the playoffs, because if he doesn't make that play against Washington, who knows where we go. And then we lost to Dallas on Thanksgiving, but that man he was ridiculous in that game. So it's there. He's got a ton of talent.
Yeah, no, he's incredible.
I would go Kayvon first. That's just me.
I'd go Andrew Thomas first, and that's just me.
There you go.
No, they're both.
There you go. That's exactly what he said. Bad Dog's a defense guy.
They're both incredible. You can't go wrong with either one, Dyer. You just can't. But yeah, the second they drafted Andrew Thomas, you knew I had to get his jersey. I love offensive linemen. Yeah. And dude, Dyer, man, you got to keep doing that. I appreciate it. Stand up, man. He just handed out 5 more members.
He's the man.
Dyer, man, you don't got to do that, man. I appreciate it, dude. But yeah, all you guys will get to see it first. I know, like like Bobby and Justin, for example, they have like Patreons, and they get to see their podcast before anybody else does. And maybe I'll start doing that with the members. I'll upload it for you guys, and you get to see it for about an hour before, and then I make the video public, especially during the off season when you got like mock drafts and stuff. But yeah, you guys will get to see my my challenge video before I make it public. Tudo, Tana, Giants, they've got all the talent they need. Coaches need to learn how to develop and build players smarter, better playbook and schemes. Yeah, I mean, Tudo, I think this year you saw that I think we've got the coaches that are going to get the most out of the players. Now we need to coach. Can only get you so far. We need more talent too. We don't need all world talent. I think we got the coaching, but we need more talent, and we need more talent in the most important areas in the trenches.
It showed up against Philadelphia how much more talent they had than us. It showed up. It reared its ugly head in that game. That yes, we had a very successful season. We overachieved. Our coaching staff got the most out of. Listen, how many games do you think Joe Judge wins with this roster? 2. So he obviously got the most out of it. You can even take some of the. You can take better coaches. I mean, how many wins do you think Ron Rivera gets out of this? Or Mike McCarthy. How many wins do you think Mike McCarthy pulls out of this Giants team? Okay,
6, 7.
Right. So he got the most out of the talent we had, but at the end of the day, when you're playing a team that is just superior in talent, and the Eagles are superior in talent to us, it showed up. They just we didn't have anything for that team. We're not there yet. That is Joe Shane, Brandon Brown, Brian Dable. That's their job this offseason, is to close that gap. They're not going to surpass the Eagles next year. But you got to close the gap and at least compete. You got to give them a game. You got to be able to, say we're there with you. We're not, you're not going to push us around anymore. Even if they end up losing, you can't get bullied like they did.
It was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing.
And it was a game in which I couldn't flip out because I was just so happy we even got that far.
Right. And they were just better. Like I said,
we just got manhandled.
Yeah, it sucks to lose, especially to them. But
that was like that to me is like the most like deflating way to lose. It's just like a slow death as you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's like
you got knocked out and you just sit there.
There's no emotion to it. It's not like you flip out. But like the whole game you're watching, you're like, yeah, this is like Mike Tyson going up against like a featherweight in his prime. Like they were just beating the hell out of us. And you just watch it. We got no chance. Like they're pushing us 8 yards back every play. And that's how the season ended in a great year. But that's the sour taste we have left in our mouth, watching them just bully us up at the point of attack. And Giants fans aren't going to hear it. I'm going to keep talking about the trenches because until we stop getting bullied, we're not going to beat these teams.
Dallas did it to us, too. Dallas bullied us up front, too.
They had 27 pressures against us our first game.
So that's the thing. You have to close that gap. That's just it. But I can say this. It always sucks losing to Philadelphia. It's terrible. And it sucks losing in the playoffs no matter what. But I've always said I think those games, as embarrassing and deflating as they are, they're easier to take because if we lose on a last-second field goal or a last-second touchdown, or we just end up losing by 3 points. Let's say we're down by 3 and we miss a field, down by 2 and we miss a field goal. There are definitely plays that you go back and God, if we would have just converted this third down, if we could have just got that yard, if the ball didn't just hook it, if the ball would have just stayed there instead of going 3 inches to the right, you drive yourself insane when you lose games like that. When you just get your ass beat, you just sit there and go, they were just better. They were just better than us. We never had a chance. They just mopped the floor at us, and you tip your cap as much as you hate to. I tip my cap, and then I throw up in it, and I say, whatever, you were better. And
they were just
better. Me to say that, but they were better, and they were way better the first time, too. So they're better than us. I mean, that's just how it goes.
We got some growing to do. Unpopular says not a lot of people respect the little guy, but Chris and Baddog do much respect. Hey, man, I always make it a point to sometimes I feel like unpopular opinion, like some people that may follow me on Twitter may hate me because, you put your notifications on. And a lot of people and I get it. And maybe I should be a bit more professional. Like a lot of people that go on Twitter, they'll only tweet and they won't really respond to much because they know that people are following their notifications and they don't want to get constant maybe I don't know. That's what I'm just assuming that's why people do it. I go on Twitter to talk with you guys. That's why I go on with Twitter. That's why I follow almost every Giants fan who follows me because that's why I'm on there. Like, I want you guys to be able to send me a private message if you want to send me a video that you like or an opinion that you like. That's just always been my mindset when I go on Twitter. Like, I don't knock anybody for handling it another way because I get people view it as they're more professional. Maybe I should be that way. But a lot of times I get in debates with you guys. I talk with you guys. That's That's why I'm on. That's why I'm on there.
I definitely was on Twitter at first, and I would like respond to everything, and then the problem is I just don't have time to do it. And then what happens is I feel bad if I have 25 comments and I respond to one person. Then I feel bad that I didn't respond to everybody. But at the end of the day, man, I run out of time. It's just hard. So sometimes I just want to put my opinion out there. I read them all. I always read everything. But then there's just some things I'm like, I'm not going to get in an argument. Like some people, I swear they're just looking for an argument. I'm like, I'm not going to. I just put my opinion out there. People can agree or disagree. That's what I do on YouTube. That's what I do in everyday life. Not everybody's going to agree with you all the time. I definitely respond more to Instagram. I think I'm more active on Instagram.
Yeah, for anybody that follows me on Instagram, I apologize. I haven't been on my Instagram account in like 2 years.
Yeah, so I do more responding on Instagram. I think I prefer Instagram over Twitter.
It's not as combative.
It really isn't. Instagram is a much different animal. It really is more cheery. Like Twitter's extreme, and I think that's what happened. Is when I first got on Twitter, it was a good way to find more people. It's a good way to follow a lot. Like if I want news, I go to Twitter. Like if I want Giants beat writers, Jordan Renan, Art Stapleton, or I get something from me and Rappaport, whatever, Twitter's where I go. But if I want to converse with people, I prefer Instagram because it's not nearly as toxic. Twitter is a toxic environment. And I was just like, I just don't want to deal with toxicity on Twitter. So I took Instagram and, I usually respond to, or, if people put me in their story, I always share it. Like if they tag me, I usually put it in my story or whatever. So I'm definitely more active on Instagram than I am on Twitter. I just tweet things out. And I don't think I've tweeted anything out since the day after we lost.
There's not much to talk about, right?
There isn't.
I like everyone, whenever I get an opportunity, if I see people live, I like to pop into their Twitter live, talk. That's why I'm on there, to talk with Giants fans. So why wouldn't I do that? Right. Connor said, and thank you. We both appreciate the compliment, by the way. I'm popular.
Absolutely.
We're just fans like everybody else.
We are just fans.
Connor says, who's some young receivers we could trade for? Again, this question is impossible for me to answer because I don't know who's going to be available. The most popular young receivers that people bring up are T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk.
Just doesn't make sense.
Another one is Godwin, who's relatively young. I think he actually will probably be available. He's 26. He's on the Bucs. Brady's not coming back. You figure they'd look to trade him. That one to me is more realistic. I don't know what the price would be, but that one's more realistic. Maybe Pittman with the Colts. If they knock it down, he's a possibility, I suppose.
I don't know where Carolina is going, but
with DJ Moore. Yeah.
Well, not even him, because I'm thinking more Terrace Marshall.
Yeah, he's more affordable.
Yeah. So it's interesting. T. Higgins is. I mean, if we could get T. Higgins, I'd do a cartwheel.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't see it happening.
Judy's a good one. I don't know what the asking price would be, but yeah, there were at least rumors that they were looking to trade him.
I think they wanted a second rounder. That's why we didn't take him.
Yeah. But
Jerry Judy's not really.
He's a really good route runner, but his hands aren't good.
His hands aren't good.
Yeah, but he's a really good route runner.
He was Evan Ingram.
Yeah. Heathen says the Eagles have 2 number 1 wide receivers. They do.
1 and 1A.
Devontae Smith he definitely grew more as a.
It helps when AJ Brown plays opposite.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, if Smith's not a 1, he's at least a 1A, like Bad Dog said. And Pete, stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad, man. I appreciate it. And they got the best offensive line. They got a really good running back. I mean, they got everything. They got a really good tight end. They got everything. They're loaded. What was the phrase that Carl used yesterday? I think he said disgustingly talented.
He said that, and I wrote in the comment section, disgusting is a good word to describe Philadelphia. I know that's not what he was saying, but that's a good word, disgusting. Like Carl had to put disgusting a couple of times. He said disgusting. You have to. He gets it. He played against the Eagles. He played against Buddy Ryan.
Jacob asked this a bunch. Let me see what he said. Tanny Bad Dog. One wide receiver y'all got to look at is Zay Flowers. I've actually looked at him because
everybody's mentioned Zay Flowers.
Everybody's told me to look at him, and I have looked at him. And he's really fast. And I think he's only 5'10", but could be a guy that fits. The guy from Tennessee, what's his name?
Raylan Hyatt.
Yeah, Hyatt. They said he ran a 4.31.
I love him.
So he might be a guy when we're talking about burners that could potentially move
I
up
really
a lot
like
during the
Jalen
draft.
Hyatt's a pretty good sized guy from what I
Yeah,
remember.
I think he's 6'1", I think he's 6'1", if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I think he's 6'1". But yeah, we'll see.
Joey R said Zay Flowers gives me Antonio Brown vibes. Now, you mean like as a receiver, not as a person, right?
Not as like an insane asylum patient.
Because I think Antonio Brown, I hope that's his because I think Antonio Brown has got CTE bad.
He's going to jail, right?
I don't know what happened to him, but I
didn't he get in like trouble with the girl in the pool or something?
Did he?
Like that?
I don't even know. I didn't see that. I'm just thinking like his last game. I just think I really do. I think that he has CTE, and but I'm pretty sure that's what he was talking about. And he gives me Antonio Brown vibes like talent because Antonio Brown was one of the most talented receivers I've ever seen before he kind of lost his marbles.
Yeah, he said ability was.
Yeah. That may, well, if that's the case, then damn. Because how would you love to have an Antonio Brown talent wise on your team?
He went to
Zay Flowers is a very popular name that I've seen a lot of people bring up.
Yeah, Antonio Brown was like a 5th round pick too, wasn't he? He was a late pick.
Yeah, he was a late pick.
He went to like Central Michigan, right, or something like that. He went to a small school.
Yeah,
and he just broke out. I think in like his 3rd or 4th year, he broke out.
Cousin, he was a 1st round, but that's Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, yep. That's how you. There you go. Antonio Brown was a 5th round pick or 4th round pick, and his cousin was a 1st round pick. You never know in the draft.
Exactly.
Connor says also, what do you think we could get for the 25th pick if we were to trade back?
Depends on what
position. Where you trade back.
Depends on.
Not a future first. You're not getting.
You probably get a second. Like if somebody's trading up from 31st to 25th, maybe you get their 2nd round pick.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna pull up the points, the NFL points draft point system. I'll tell you.
Maybe you get their 2nd and then a future 2nd or something.
Yeah. So like now, this isn't like set in stone, but this is like historically like what GMs go by when they make trades in the draft in terms of like where they value. And I've talked about this in prior offseason videos, but in terms of like where they value, how much they value, picks. So we're picking 25, which is 720 points.
Yep.
So let's say, somebody came knocking at 44 or maybe not that far, like 37. And they say, we want to move up. We want to get a quarterback. Say they want to get Anthony Richardson at 25, even though I don't think he'll fall that far, but let's just say they want to go up to 25. That pick's worth 530 points. Our pick's worth 720. So you're talking about a discrepancy of 190 points. And maybe we'll say 230, 240 because they're trading up for a quarterback. So that would get you like a 3rd round pick. Yeah.
Right. And their 2nd.
Yeah, you would get their 2nd and you'd get a 3rd. That's probably what you're looking at. Your 2nd and a 3rd, maybe a 2nd and a future 2nd because a future 2nd round pick is valued as a 3rd. So maybe you can get that. So you're either looking at a 2nd and a 3rd or a 2nd and maybe a future 2nd. If we were to trade back, in that scenario. Raphael says, Baddog entertained 2 legends of the Giants fan base. Thank you, man. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it, man. I think you get. I mean, it depends where you trade back to, Danny. If you trade back to 32, you're not getting as much. In that scenario, I said 37, but you might be able to get a 2nd and a 3rd, maybe a 2nd and a future 3rd, something like that. Something like that. You're not getting a 1st.
No.
What's going on? What's going on, Danny, man? Thanks so much for popping in, buddy. Missed you too, man. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you got a chance to check out the Carl Banks stream. I had a lot of fun yesterday. Let's see. I don't really pay attention to any team but the Giants. I think we're kind of the same. Well, I definitely pay attention to the league, but a lot closer to the Giants.
Yeah.
Knicks or Nets? I'm calling the game, so I'm rooting for the Knicks. I'm a Knicks fan. There's no such thing as New York Nets fans, are there, Baddog?
No. No, there's not.
Come on.
You go to the Barclays Center, it's Madison Square Garden. It's all that.
Come on.
I heard Julius Randle MVP chance in Barclays Center. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
The Knicks fans take over that guard because Nets fans are from New Jersey. No matter how bad the Knicks are, the Knicks will always be New York's team. It's just the way it goes. I mean, Brooklyn, people out of the borough of Brooklyn are Knicks fans. moving the New Jersey Nets to Brooklyn ain't going to make everybody in Brooklyn a Nets fan. That's not going to happen. The Brooklyn fans are Knicks fans. Manhattan fans are Knicks. Everybody in New York's Knicks fans.
It's
like
true.
It or not.
They all became Nets fans once Kevin Durant got over there.
Right. And when Kevin Durant leaves, I mean, James Harden thing, that blew up in their face. But when Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving leave without a title, there'll be no Nets fans
anymore. Suddenly there'll be Knicks fans again.
Right.
They'll be miserable with the rest of us.
Right.
Muta Grouse says, I like Carl's co-host, Oscar. Yeah, his dog was loud, but his dog was I ain't going to tell Carl to shut his dog up. I ain't doing that.
I wonder what his dog is barking at.
He's barking at me, probably. He didn't like me.
He was looking at me.
No, but it was cool, man. I know, obviously, listening back, I'm like, yeah, probably some people in the chat I could see, but while you're interviewing him, like, you're so focused on, like, what he's saying. Like, It's like I was trying to retain everything he was saying so I could try to continue, like, a smooth conversation like that. After, like, the first 4 or 5 barks, I didn't even
I was saying, me, I kind of tuned it out.
Yeah.
And seeing as I'm married, I know how to tune out things really good.
Yeah.
So all husbands and any husbands in the chat, you all have selective hearing. You hear what you want to. So, yeah, the first time he started barking, I'm like, oh, he's got a dog. For a minute, I thought it was yours. I'm like, that's not Chris's dog. And then I was like, that's Car. And then he's like, yeah, it's Oscar's barking. And then I tuned it out.
Yeah. Scott says, if you could pull in one player, non-quarterback, from any team in the league for next year. Ooh, that's a good question, Scott. Now, I'm going to answer that just for the Giants specifically, because for different teams, I'd say different players. You may need a left tackle, right? But we don't need a left tackle. We have Andrew Thomas. So for the Giants, I think I got, all right, it's one of two. I'm going to also factor in age with this, Bad Dog. I'm going to factor in contract. I'm going to factor in age. Giants fans are not going to like me saying this. It's one of two players, and they're not going to like either answer for me, Bad Dog. They're going to hate both answers. One of them is Micah Parsons.
Yeah, that's the first guy I thought.
He's young. He's incredibly talented. He plays one of the most important positions on a football team. The other, Sauce Gardner. He's already the best cornerback in football, and he's a rookie with the Jets.
Yeah.
I think those would be my two. And you could say Justin Jefferson for sure, or a wide receiver too. But I think those would be my two. They're young, and they're still on their rookie salaries, and they're only going to get better. So I think those would be my two. I think it would be Micah Parsons and Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, Micah Parsons is the first guy I thought of. I liked Parsons out of college a lot. So again, being a defensive guy, and you know me, I wanted Isaiah Simmons. Like I always want that. That's why I was really excited when we got Kayvon Thibodeau, because I always want that impact. And again, I grew up in the 80s, so I saw that. I'm not expecting anybody to ever be Lawrence Taylor, but I to get a guy as good as Harry Carson or Carl Banks or Pepper John, like these guys are all impactful players. So he's obviously he's a freaking beast. And yeah, he's on a rookie contract. He's young. He's good. He's not Lawrence Taylor. He'll never be Lawrence Taylor, but he's freaking amazing. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not saying that he's not, but that's how good Lawrence Taylor was. That Micah Parsons doesn't hold a candle to him. Okay. Justin Jefferson would be the other one. That guy, forget about it.
I see people say in the chat, and obviously you could say Nick Bosa too, but Bosa is a little bit older. That's why I didn't say him. The guy's gonna be making like $35 million now. Like I'd rather have the guy.
To have a receiver like that.
Yeah.
And pick everybody. Can you imagine having Justin Jefferson and Isaiah Hodgins? How much better would Hodgins be if Jefferson was on the other side of him?
Of course.
Would want to be on the slot.
How much better would Saquon Barkley be?
How much better would Daniel Jones be?
Yeah. It opens up the whole offense.
Yeah. So those are probably my two guys, Justin Jefferson and Micah Parsons.
And no, I don't think it's an indictment on Tibbs, by the way, unpopular. I'd still want Tibbs. I'd want Parsons and Tibbs.
Yeah, we're not saying we're getting rid of. He just said if you could pull one player.
Yeah, like you give me that duo, man.
Yeah,
let's rock and roll with that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's we're talking about just adding Parsons to Tibbs, not getting rid of Tibbs for Parsons.
Yeah, and there you go. Yeah, Parsons plus Tibbs would be crazy.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
Can you guys do next year's record prediction? I can't. Not right now. We didn't have the draft. We didn't do free agency. It's way too early to. And at the end of the day, you're just throwing darts at the board anyway. But we don't know half the team right now. Half the team is going to be different from last year between the draft and free agency and everything else. So, no, can't do that yet.
Yeah, we also don't know what the teams are playing against are going to do. Free agency and all this other. So we don't know what teams they are either.
Right.
So that's why usually I don't do the record predictions until like August. I really don't do them until they played like one preseason game. It's usually
you want to do it as late as possible because then you know the injuries going in and everything.
Right.
else.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Also would take the Cowboys' best player in that scenario. That's a really good point. So now that you bring up that logic, Joey, I might take Boston Scott. I think I take Boston Scott, man.
When Boston Scott hits free agency, the Giants are John Mara is going to personally.
He's a free agent this year. I think.
Okay. So John Mara is going to personally drive down to Philadelphia and escort him to MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
And he's not going to do anything. He's just going to give water to the players and whatever. He won't even suit up. He's going to be like Rudy on Notre Dame. Like that's going to be Boston Scott for us, just to get him away from us. Yeah, if you're taking players away, then you could definitely say A.J. Brown. You give me Micah Parsons and A.J. Brown. I take A.J. Brown too in a heartbeat. So
for sure. And Pirate King says, "What do you think of Bills fans saying the Giants are not a New York team?" I laugh at that.
A lot of people say that. So
listen, at the end of the day, I get it. Like technically, they're right. We play in Jersey. But at the end of the day, we're called the New York Giants. They're called the Buffalo Bills.
Correct. And at the end of the day, the New York Giants have been around since 1925 and did play in New York all the way up until 1973. Because I know they were playing in the Yale and they were playing in Connecticut for a couple of years. Maybe that was 74. But they played in New York for the better part of 50 years. They played at Yankee Stadium, and then they got their own stadium, and they went to the Meadowlands because the taxes are way cheaper. And
let's be real, Baddog. Like if you asked somebody that didn't know much about football, from like Tennessee or Wyoming, like somebody that doesn't know anything about New York, somebody that doesn't live anywhere near here, what state is Buffalo in? A lot of them wouldn't be able to tell you. So it's like the Giants are New York's team. Let's be real. Yeah. The Giants and the Jets are New York's team. Like Buffalo is Buffalo. They happen to play in New York. But the Giants and the Jets are New York.
It's okay.
And New Jersey's team. I don't want to take anything away from Jersey.
They're like Mayor Koch said. I think it was Mayor Koch. Or no, it was Frank Gifford said this years ago. He said it belongs to like the Northeast. It belongs to Connecticut. It belongs to Vermont, although Vermont's probably more Patriots. But it belongs to Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, the tri-state area. It belongs to that whole section. But that's why they're the New York Giants. That's because they started here. And Bills fans can say that. A lot of teams call us the Jersey Giants. Like it's some kind of insult. That's fine. I would just say to Bills fans, before you start talking shit, win a Super Bowl, okay? Even the Jets have a Super Bowl, okay? Even the Jets have won one of those. So
listen, I've been one of the biggest Josh.
And I like the Bills. I got no problem with the Bills. But
I love Shane and Dable. So thank you, Buffalo.
Exactly.
But
and Isaiah Hodgins. Thank you, Buffalo.
I love Isaiah
Jermaine Edmonds. Come on down.
I've been one of the biggest Josh Allen supporters. I was a big fan of him before he took off. So I've always said how much I love the guy. I've always loved his physical traits. Josh Allen to me was one of the most disappointing quarterbacks in football this year. And you're kidding yourselves if you don't think Brian Dable's departure had something to do with that. Now, that doesn't mean he won't rebound. We see quarterbacks all the time. When they have to switch offensive coordinators, they don't do quite as well the first year.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Dable, there was an impact there, him losing Brian Dable this year.
Absolutely.
John says, if Wink leaves for the head coaching job, would you guys want Ed Reed, since he knows Wink's system, playing in all those years? No, I would not. I don't know who I'd want. I mean, all right, I get the pick. Fangio. That's who I'd want. Fangio. Fangio was an incredible defensive coordinator with the 49ers. If he wanted the job, that's who I'd want. If Wink left. Yeah. I don't think Wink's leaving, so I don't think we got to worry about it. And Asimee says, what's the best course of action if Aziz isn't that healthy again this year? Draft edge late in the draft, sign a potential starter.
I'd imagine they could take an edge later in the draft. I mean, they're going to have 11 draft picks. So
yeah, even if they
it doesn't hurt to have depth. Even if Aziz is healthy, it never hurts to have depth at positions.
Steve Wilkes is a good one too. I see people saying that. Yeah, he did a really good job with Carolina as an interim coach. Good one with Steve Wilkes. Yeah, I think we could draft the edge, even if they think Aziz is going to be fine next year. You need more edge rushers.
I have a good defensive coordinator for us.
Yeah.
What about Joe Judge? Have you ever seen the defenses against Joe Judge? How good do defenses look against Joe Judge?
All Joe Judge has to do is give the opposing team his offensive playbook every week, and the Giants, he would be the best defensive coordinator in football.
That's all I'm saying.
Guys, huddle up. It's 3rd and 9. They're gonna do a QB sneak.
That's right.
If Joe Judge did that, if he gave the opposing team his offensive playbook week to week, he'd be the best defensive coordinator in football. Ever. Not even currently, of all time.
Right. Better than Belichick was with the Giants. I'm telling you. If you've ever seen a Joe Judge offense, the defenses look like the 85 Bears, man. It's unbelievable.
What's up,
I can't help myself.
And Dad says, how do we get the Giants to bring back red? I'm not a fan of the red jerseys.
Never won in those jerseys. I didn't mind the red jerseys. Like, I thought they were cool looking. I don't own one. I would never buy one because I just felt like it wasn't their color. But I always thought they were cool. But I swear to God, we never won when we wore those jerseys.
I don't know. When I think Giants, I think blue.
Yeah, I do too. Although their white color rush is the best jersey.
But there's a little bit of blue to it.
Yeah, the numbers are blue.
Yeah, so like the red jersey almost felt like a 49er jersey to me.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of the red jersey. But I get it. Some people seem to really love it. I was never a big fan of it.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because I didn't get to see it that much. Maybe it would have grown on me had they worn it.
Like I said, it's not like I didn't prefer it. I definitely preferred the road whites or the home blues over the red one. I'm like, I was indifferent, but I swear to God, we never won when we wore those jerseys.
Yeah. That might have been it. It might have been, it looked like training camp jerseys. Exactly. That's the vibe I got when I watched the featuring. I'm like, this is like the quarterback's jersey in training camp.
Yeah, unfortunately, Eli would wear those and he'd get killed. So they didn't get the message, hey, he's wearing a red jersey. You can't touch him.
Yeah. John, thank you, man. He says, if Deron Payne in Washington can't come to an agreement because he's an unrestricted free agent, would you guys cut Leo immediately and sign Deron? Can you imagine Payne next to – I mean –
I don't think he can cut Leonard, though. His cap hit is enormous.
You only save $12 million if you cut him, and you're going to have to pay Payne more than that. So it would actually go more against your cap than if you just kept Leo. I don't think they're doing that. No, I don't think they're going to do that. We're keeping Leo this year. We're going to keep Leo.
Yeah, I think they're going to extend Leo.
I hope.
Lower that cap number going into this year.
And don't get me wrong, Payne's a really good player, but no, I don't think we'll do that.
Yeah.
Good out of the box thinking, though. Diehard says, Giants belong in blue. I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, like Baddog said, I love the color rush jersey. That's like my favorite. But the thing is, if they wore that as often as they wore the blue jerseys, it may wear off of me a little bit. I don't know. It might be the fact that they only wear it like once or twice a year. But I love the color rush jerseys. But yeah, the red ones just never did it for me. It never did it for me, personally. But everybody's got their own take. Some people want the Giants to wear black jerseys. I same thing. Like I don't. That's like what the Jets.
As you can tell by what I wear most, black's my favorite color.
Yeah, but it's not Giants.
It's not. I mean, I have a black Giants hat, but yeah, I could not. I wouldn't want to see the Giants in black uniforms.
It's like what the Jets do. Like the Jets, to me, when they wore the black, and don't get me wrong.
Those Jets uniforms are horrible.
It's like I get it. It looks like different and whatever, but it's like that's not the Jets. The Jets.
It's like when the Yankees wore those. I'm like, that's not the Yankees. Like the one series, I forgot. It was just like. I forgot what colors they wore when the Yankees are playing the Dodgers. I'm like, of all series to make them wear those, were they just black and white jerseys? Yeah. You have Dodgers blue against Yankee pinstripes. I mean, come on, man, that was insane.
I will say, and I am biased. And listen, if you're a Yankees fan, you have. And by the way, we're doing that baseball show. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I was talking to my wife about that. I'm like, I think Chris and I are going to do baseball.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Since you're a Mets guy and I'm a Yankee guy.
Yeah, we're going to do that this year. We're going to do a baseball show this year, or maybe once a week or something. But, here's what I'll say, man. If you're a Yankees fan, you have to love the traditional uniforms.
Absolutely.
Right, the pinstripes, the
road grays,
the no names on the back.
Absolutely.
I'm a Mets fan. Maybe I'm biased. I love the Mets uniform, and they have so many different ones. But I love it. I think they have one of the best uniforms in baseball. I love the old black, and I'm usually like a traditionalist. I love the Mets jersey. I think the Mets have one of the best uniforms in baseball.
One of my favorite jerseys of all time of any sport, the 1980s Expos. I absolutely love
with
the
with
Expos jersey. Yes, I
Yeah.
love the Expos jersey. I'm still kicking myself in the ass for not buying like these 47 MVP hats fit my peanut head perfectly. I got a small head. Okay, it's 6 7/8. So when I wear a 5950 with a high brim, it looks terrible because I have such a small head. The 47 MVPs fit really good, and there was an Expos hat there, and I didn't buy it. And I'm like, damn it, why didn't I buy that Expos hat? Like I should just, I love the other one I love. There was two other ones in the 80s I love. The powder blue Toronto Blue Jays jerseys and the powder blue Twins jerseys. I absolutely loved those jerseys.
I'm going to tell you one of the ugliest jerseys from that era.
Oh, there was a couple.
The Astros.
The Padres in the 70s. That
Padres are bad.
One. Yeah, the Astros are terrible.
I didn't like those Astros jerseys from like the 80s. Oh.
But they were a good team. The Astros were a good team in the 80s.
We should do like a video where we talk about baseball jerseys. Desmond says
we could definitely do that. We're doing a baseball show. We can talk about it all. Yeah. I love baseball.
Desmond says we had a good season. Now we can get ready for some Lakers and Dodgers later this year. The Lakers are starting to play a little bit better, right? They're like approaching 500.
Well, yeah, they're close. They just traded for Hachimura, and they got Anthony Davis back last game. So, and Anthony Davis came back at a huge game. 21, 11, 4 blocks. The West is very jumbled. The Lakers are 12th in the West, but they're 3 games out of 4th. That's how tight that is. So, any of those teams the Sacramento Kings are actually in 3rd place. That's how tight the West is. Kings are good this year.
The conferences in basketball.
The East is way better. It's not close.
The East has become the West. It used to be the West.
The East is way better than the West.
Yeah, it's completely shifted. Dyer says, I can't wait for baseball. Yeah, listen, I think it'd be awesome to be able to come on here once a week. Definitely. Even if we don't get a huge audience.
I love baseball. We did that a few years ago. But we never really stuck to it.
We should do it. No, we'll make it like and if people like it, maybe we do it twice a week. If people like it, we do like a Mets.
Yeah, because you have 5-6 games a week.
Yeah,
it's not like you have 1 game a week
during like the slow time when there's not a lot after the draft, after
like the middle of May.
Do the baseball show twice a week. Do some Mets and Yankees talk. I think it'd be cool. Cole says, "Who are some draft prospects you like right now for us?" Keyshawn, JSN, Drew Sanders, Joey Porter Jr., and stop with the Anthony Richardson.
That's why I put ha.
Joe, I mean, listen.
Keyshawn Booty's another one that is.
Yeah, I've seen Porter mocked to us. He's one of the. I think he's a corner, right? He's a guy that I've seen be mocked to us. I haven't looked into him yet. Sanders, I think, is a linebacker prospect. I have not looked into him either, but I've seen the name. JSN, I've seen. I've watched plenty of film on him, highlights on him. Question with both the wide receivers you listed are injuries, but they're both talented. I'm gonna have a list. I'm gonna have a list in about a month of the guys that I really like. But those 2 wide receivers are definitely gonna be guys that I'm gonna be looking at a lot. I'm gonna have a guy on the channel actually that does film breakdown. So I'm looking forward, and those are guys that we're probably gonna break down. So I'm looking forward to looking further into those guys. But those. A lot of those names will be guys that I'll be going over. I will not be going over Anthony Richardson because we're not drafting him.
Correct.
Although I do think Anthony Richardson could be a good player if put in the right situation and if he grows, but I don't think it'll be here.
It's going to take him a little while, though. He's raw.
Yeah.
He's a raw quarterback. And usually, depending on where you go, when you're a highly drafted quarterback, you're put in a really bad situation. And it's unless you're absolutely an elite guy, it's really hard to succeed early in your career unless you're Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was terrible as what he's now. Urban Meyer had a lot to do with that, but you see, he gets an NFL head coach in Doug Peterson, and you see how good he ends up being. Justin Herbert went to a middle of the road team. I mean, the Chargers were never really bad. Tua struggled initially, and he got better. He's just dealt with some injuries. But it's tough for a guy that's got to develop that goes to a bad team. So
he's a project,
right? We'll see where he goes. He ended up going to I'm trying to think of like if he went to the Saints, maybe. Like I don't know. Well, the Saints don't have a first round pick. The Eagles got that pick. I'm trying to think of like a team that's picking like 20. Like
how about the Lions? They got Goff, but
right. So if he went to the Lions, he'd have a chance. Like that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
If the Lions wanted to say, okay, we got Goff here, but we want to draft Anthony Richardson and Goff can keep it warm for him. That might be
that. Yeah, that could
be a good situation.
Maybe the Seahawks if they sign Geno Smith.
Right. Yeah, because you're throwing a Tyler Lockett and a DK Metcalf, and you got Kenneth Walker. Again, those places he'll succeed. If he ends up going to, he's not going to go to Denver because they're stuck with Russell Wilson. But if Anthony Richardson goes to one of those, teams picking in the top 10, he's probably not going to be very good. So that's why situation has a lot to do with the quarterback, unless your skill set is just ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes' skill set's ridiculously good. He went to a great team as it was.
Yeah, that was like the perfect like form. Yeah. I didn't mean to miss a couple of these member chats. I got them here.
Maybe go to Dallas.
I could see it. Dak ain't it anymore, Bad Dog. He's not it. Ever since that injury,
4 years ago, before Daniel Jones should pass, I said he was going to be better than Dak Prescott, man.
Dak is not good anymore.
Well, hey, Daniel Jones may actually end up being better than Dak Prescott.
He was better than him this year.
He's better than the other three quarterbacks that I said, right?
Yeah.
So at one point I believed, and then I didn't believe, and then I believed again. And what can I tell you? I'm a flip-flopper. I'm a waffler. I don't know what else to say. I'm an EKG machine when it comes to Daniel Jones. I've always been that way. But as I went and looked back at the Jets video, I said, Jesus, I said right in that video, if we get him a real coach, he's going to be dangerous in the NFL. And I lost sight of that because Joe Judge is not a real coach. And you can definitely tell what he did to Max.
We bought into it, though. We bought into it.
Keep Joe Judge away from any quarterback with a last name of Jones.
Yeah, maybe he's got a coach and not Jones will do fine. Bodo, man, thank you for being a member for 10 months. He says, yo, peeps, sorry I haven't been around. Don't ever apologize. Family issues. Sorry about the Giants. Well, I hope everything's going well with your family.
Family first, Bodo. You the man. We haven't forgot about you, buddy.
Yeah, and
your family. It's most important, always.
And we'll bounce back. Giants will bounce back. They had a good year. Got a lot to work on, though.
Yeah.
And David, man, thank you for being a member. He says, Bad Dog, have you taken little Bad Dog to Cooperstown yet?
I did. I took him there in August. I did a quick live stream when I was in the Hall of Fame because you actually can do that.
Oh, I missed that. You did that.
Yeah, it was like it might have been 20 minutes. I didn't do it for very long. I was just kind of circling around in the hallway. He was too young, and I was afraid of that because he's 5, and 5-year-olds don't have much of an attention span, and he's not really into sports. I thought maybe I can tell you this: the first thing we did when we got there. There was a lot of stores and stuff, and he was pretty good. Now, he's like me. If he gets hungry, forget it. I mean, that's pretty much any human being. You get hungry, you get a little cranky.
Right.
But we went into they play a movie at Cooperstown, and it's just talking about
they do the Who's on Third thing, right?
No, it's a different movie.
Oh, a different movie.
It's like Hall of Famers in the history of Chris, it gave me chills. Like I'm such a baseball historian to see Koufax and to hear Bob Gibson speak or Roy Campanella, to see Hank Aaron, Willie May, I get chills because those guys were just ridiculous. But my favorite thing of that was, and the movie's 10, 15 minutes long. It's not long. Couldn't record that though. They didn't want you taking pictures of that.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So otherwise I would have. If that was allowed, I definitely would have done that. But when we left the theater, my son said, he goes, I really like that, Dad. That made me happy.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Because a lot of the younger generation,
I like that, Daddy. But walking around, he don't want to look at jerseys and all the plaques. He doesn't get it yet. He will someday, just not yet. I'm thinking maybe when he's 8 or 9. That's really when I fell in love with baseball. So
I'm going to tell you the first guy. It's funny. I don't even remember how. When I was obviously when you're a kid, you get to an age where you get interested. At least I did. You did. You get interested in the history of the sport. The one player that always interested me, and I think you just mentioned when you rattled off some of those names, was Josh Gibson. When I was a kid.
I didn't mention Josh Gibson, but yes.
Because you heard, I read the stories about him, and he was the Black Babe Ruth. That was his nickname. And They said that he hit a ball out of Yankee Stadium and that he would have set the all-time home run record had he been able to play Major League Baseball.
Yep.
That was a guy that always intrigued me as a kid growing up.
And the other thing is, there are no Josh Gibson cards. Like they just started making like cards of Josh Gibson, like his bat. They make Josh Gibson bat cards.
Right.
So those, I mean, I haven't looked for one in a while, but they were like $1,200. I'm like, I can't pay that for that. But he doesn't have any. Like he doesn't have any Gowdy cards that he played back then. He doesn't have any, Diamond Stars cards or play ball cards. He doesn't have any of that stuff. But yeah, Josh Gibson. I mean, when I was there, I bought a Negro League Hank Aaron jersey because I just thought it was awesome. And the funny thing is, like, I put that on Instagram. So I said, these are a couple of things I bought. I bought a 96 Yankees World Series replica ring, and I bought I want to say it was a 2011. I think it was a 2011 Giants replica ring. But I put that there with the jersey, and I was like, no, this is not the new name for the Giants because this is how bad we were. I'm like, it's a Hank Aaron Negro League jersey. I love it. It's really cool. And I wanted to buy a Jackie Robinson one because I just love Jackie Robinson. Like,
how could you not?
I mean, I love Jackie. But the only jersey they were like $400. The Hank Aaron one was only $90. I'm like,
that was the number I wore, by the way, when I was in high school. I all the way leading up from age like 12 to 18, I wore number 42.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much because, I mean, I love the history, obviously, of Jackie Robinson, but it was more so just because it was cool to wear a jersey that nobody in baseball could wear.
Yeah.
So that's why I always wore that jersey when I was in high school.
Yeah. Let's be real. I'm going to tell you why Chris really well, because he loves Mariano Rivera. That was really why. He really loves Mariano. That was why he was wearing, because Mariano was wearing it when Chris was in high school. But
it's true. He was.
I do. I do. I mean, I absolutely love the history of baseball. I love it. And a lot of people know because I put a lot of my purchases like for cards, like I put them on it. I am addicted to like sports card collecting. Like I need to keep my ass off of eBay. Like I haven't bought anything in a while, but I just love like going way back, the home run Bakers and I'm sitting there looking at guys like Tip O'Neill today. Tip O'Neill is like, nobody knows who the hell Tip O'Neill is, right? He played in the 1880s. He had one of the greatest seasons in the history of baseball in 1884. He's the only guy to ever lead the league in doubles, triples, and home runs. He led the league in doubles, triples, home runs, runs scored, RBIs, runs scored, on base percentage, slugging percentage, total bases. He's not in the Hall of Fame. There's only 13 players that won the Triple Crown. They're all in the Hall of Fame. Well, Garrett Cabrera's not in there, but he will.
He's gonna be.
Tip O'Neill's not in there. Tony Mullane's another one.
Now that we're doing like baseball history, and we apologize for anybody that's in here.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a slower time. It's
what though? This is the promotion for a baseball show.
Yeah. But we've done this before. We just every once in a while when it's like a slower time, we get in, we spin off into baseball.
I love baseball. We love baseball.
But Bad Dog, I'm going to tell you, and I know you're going to know it since you know like everything in terms of history for baseball. But I'm pretty sure this guy is not in the Hall of Fame. Who holds the record for the most RBIs ever in a single season, and how many did he have?
Oh, Hack Wilson, 191.
191 RBIs, and he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Not in the Hall of Fame.
Drove in almost 200 runs in 1 year when they had played 154 games. Yeah. And he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Not in the Hall of Fame.
That's crazy.
It's weird looking back at some of the guys that are in the Hall of Fame. Like I look at Joe Tinker and Joe Tinker Evers chance. There was the whole thing in Chicago, Tinker to Evers a chance. None of their stats are good. Their stats are terrible. And I'm looking at a guy like Tip O'Neill or George Stovey. And I'm like, why are they not in these? Again, these guys are playing in the 1880s, but like, why the hell are they not in the Hall of Fame? I don't really understand that stuff. But the American League record, that's Lou Gehrig. He had 184. That's, so good. I just love baseball. I freaking love it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Silly Parody says, if we used all 11 picks on quarterback, would that satisfy the DJ? Also, the Bills may be a New York State team, but they're not New York City's team. Great stream as usual. We appreciate that, man. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. They are New York State's team. Like Bad Dog lives in New York State.
Yeah,
he doesn't live in New York City. Buffalo is New York State's team. They're not New York City's team. And when you think about New York, you think about New York City. So,
right. I can tell you, living upstate, okay, it's overwhelmingly Giants fans up here. Overwhelming. Yep. There's not many Jets fans up here. There's Bills fans, but not a lot. There's not a lot of Patriots, which I'm surprised. Honestly, where I live in upstate New York, there's definitely the second popular team, probably the Cowboys up here. As weird as that is.
That's probably most places.
That's
a lot of front runners.
But the Giants are definitely number one up here.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's still New like Buffalo's basically Canada.
It really is.
It's like right there. What's your offseason plan heading into next season? Joe, real quick, I'll give you like a Cliff Notes version of what I would do. And maybe I'll make a video on this, but I mean, I think you guys know the general gist of what I would do. I would sign Daniel Jones.
I did good. I went 2 hours without peeing. I got to pee. I'll be right back.
I would sign Daniel Jones to, I mean, everybody's going to say get him to as cheap as you can, but I'm going to speak in the world of realistic. So for me, I would sign him to like a 3-year, $105 million, maybe a 4-year, $135 million with like $70 to $80 million guaranteed that I could get out of after 2, maybe 3 years. That's what I would strive for. I would get that out of the way. I would structure the contract in a way that maybe 25 goes against the cap this year, 24, so I could have a little bit of wiggle room to be able to retain some of my players. I would go to Barkley. I would say, Barkley, I'm not giving you what you want. We're going to either franchise tag you. Yeah, we're going to franchise tag you if you're not willing to work out a deal, since we already signed Daniel Jones. And if he's going to threaten to hold out and he's not willing to cooperate with me, I'd trade him. If he's not going to play on the tag and hold out anyway, I would trade him and get something for him. I would try to work out a deal with him. That's what I want the Giants to be able to do. I want Barkley back next year, but that's how I would approach it if I were Shane. I would let Love walk unless he was willing to come back for $6 or $7 million a year. And then in free agency, in terms of outside guys, if it fit the budget, I would love to bring in a guy like Tremaine Edmonds. I think we need an immediate impact guy at that linebacker spot. He's got ties from Buffalo. If not him, a proven commodity at the linebacker spot. Maybe you got to go a little bit cheaper, but a proven commodity at the linebacker spot that could fit our defense. I would try to sign a moderately priced free agent wide receiver. Who that is, I'm not sure, but you got to fill out that wide receiver room. DJ Chark's a name people have brought up. Maybe him. I don't know what his market's going to be, but something along those lines. I think that's probably what I would try to do. And fill in a couple of other holes along the way. Maybe get a depth defensive tackle. I think that's something we could use. Get some depth on the offensive line. And then in the draft, you go for BPA. I mean, obviously, you're looking at wide receiver or corner more than likely in the first, just based off of value and need. But you're going BPA in the draft. That's what you're doing. You're not going to – that's what they did last year. They went BPA. Well, they didn't really go BPA, actually. They kind of went for scheme fit. At least that's what a lot of people thought after the draft. But that's what I do. I don't look at specifically position in the draft, especially after the first round. So that would be my plan. Cliff Notes version.
No, well, me, it's you got, if you Daniel Jones your guy, you got to sign him. I'm not, like I said, I'm not giving him 6 years, 240. If his price range of years are way out, you tag him. Yeah. But the most I want to give Daniel Jones is 4-year, 140. That's $35 million a year. You can get out after 2. I like McCole Hardman. I think that he's not going to cost a ton, and he's a good special teams guy, which we need special teams. He's fast as hell. He's explosive. I like him. I would still look at drafting a wide receiver too. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to get some interior line help though, and yeah, Tremaine Edmonds is a perfect guy. He played for Dable and Shane. We need linebacker help in the worst way. So those are some of the things that I would do, like you said, and I would try to give Leonard Williams. I try to extend him so you lower the cap number so he doesn't have to play another $32 million. Yeah,
I should have mentioned that. I would have tried to do that too.
Those are things that I would look at doing. And we'll see what they do. What I do know is these guys have a plan, and I am fully confident that they will execute the plan.
Yeah. I see people bring up Michael, I think it's Meyer or Mayer, the guy from Notre Dame, the tight end. I see a lot of people bring him up. I like him. I've watched him 3 or 4 games this year. I don't think we should draft a tight end though in the first round, but I do like him. He's a good player.
Desmond says, I'm okay with rolling with Bellinger.
I think we would still have Bellinger, but it would be, they're thinking more like 2 tight ends. But did
Dable's system does it really call for?
No, that's the thing.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If it was a Patriots, different story.
Yeah, I don't think that's what we're gonna do. I do like him though. I think he will go in the first round. Desmond says, Chris, did you like the 1980s Mets uniforms? Yeah, I didn't get to appreciate them, but yes, I see them worn at the
I
stadium.
actually like those too.
Yeah, they were with the stripes.
I told you I don't want to get back into baseball, but I told you on YouTube, I can't tell you how many 86 Mets games I watched. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, and I know in 86 I was very jealous of the Mets because I'm like, how come they win and the Yankees don't? Because 85 is when I fell in love with the Yankees in 1985, and the they lost out to Toronto last week of the season. Toronto won 99 games, the Yankees won 97, and Mattingly won the MVP. But looking back at that 86 Mets team, it's so much fun to go back and watch them, especially that NLCS against Houston. It's one of the 86 baseball playoffs, probably the best baseball playoffs ever.
You had 2 Game 7s, right? They used to did it used to go 7 or 6? It went 6.
That went 6.
But it went to
the Mets were down 3-0 going to the 9th, and they came back to tie it, and they won extra innings. And it's a good thing they did because Mike Scott was going to pitch games. They couldn't touch Mike Scott. Scott.
He cheated that year, Mike Scott.
Well, Gary Carter kept saying he was scuffing the baseball.
Yeah.
But it was still a fantastic series. And the ALCS went 7 games. Dave Henderson's infamous home run off Donnie Moore. And then, of course, the 86 World Series. It's one of the greatest World Series ever played.
If anybody is listening, and the 1986 Mets, again, a team I wish I got to watch. One of the top, 7, 8 baseball teams.
They're really good. They were really good.
If anybody has not got an opportunity to watch the history of that team, watch it.
They're characters, man.
Even if you're not a baseball fan. And
they were fighting with each other. The Mets are good. The Mets are fighting against other teams every series.
But you know what the craziest thing about that World Series is Buckner called the ball going under his legs.
He said that would be his biggest nightmare.
Right before the World Series started, he said, as a kid growing up, you dream about hitting the game-winning home run, and you dread letting a ball roll through your legs.
Yep.
And then in Game 6, that's exactly what happened. Like, that's the craziest thing. You can see that video on YouTube.
Yeah, the other thing that's crazy about it is he was on deck when the Red Sox made their last out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's in Game 7.
And Bodo says, not a basketball fan, but all in for the we're looking forward to doing it after the draft.
Absolutely.
Dominic says, Bad Dog, think Volpe comes up at all this year about Yankees.
I think that Volpe is going to be up maybe when they call the guys up in September. I don't know. We'll have to see how he does in the minors. He took a major step forward. The Yankees definitely have some talent. They got to get – the Yankees got to get rid of Aaron Hicks. I don't know what the hell they have. They trade him for a broken pitching machine. The guy's trash. The guy's trash at every phase of the game. Why he's still here, I have no clue. And Josh Donaldson needs to get the hell out too. You can keep IKF. I'm all for keeping IKF and letting him be a utility infielder. But I think Peraza, Cabrera, and Volpe are going to be the future. And I don't think Gleyber Torres is long for the team either. To be honest, I think the Yankees are going to trade Gleyber Torres this year. I really think that's coming. We'll see. It's a long season. I'm looking now that the Giants are over. Now I'm looking forward to baseball for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I always get excited and I think it's going to be a really fun season for both our teams.
Yeah.
Dyard says typers will do research when you're wrong and hide when you're right. I feel bad for those people. In case you're listening, please focus on yourself. I guess somebody said something in the chat, or maybe just saying that in general.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Dyard, it's not just us; it's everybody. Whether it be people on YouTube, people on writers like Patricia Traynor, people. They're always you're always gonna have haters that they won't give you credit when when you're right, and they'll come out. That's just what it is.
That's social media in a nutshell. People, like I said, people go back to the Jalen Hurts video when I laughed at them drafting Jalen Hurts, and when Eagles fans were pissed off that they drafted Jalen Hurts, and you and I laughed, and they're like, "Oh, now what?" I'm like, dude, where was that energy 3 years ago when they drafted him? You get no credit for going back and going, "Oh, look at you." Yeah, you get no credit for that. If you were on board, you should have said, "This is going to come back to bite you" when I made the video. Not 3 years later. Oh, look at you're wrong. Oh, hindsight's always 20/20.
At the end of the day,
who cares?
Yeah, I just try to give a well-informed opinion. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. Sometimes you're going to be right. And sometimes, like with the Daniel Jones reaction, that was not a well-informed opinion. That was just a pure reaction, and it is what
we're never going to live it down.
I can't go back in time.
And when we win a Super Bowl, I'm telling you, when we win a Super Bowl and they do the America's game of the Giants, you will see us do that again. Daniel Jones look at that and go, oh, I know those two guys.
Bodo says, I used to buy bubblegum cards, but the problem was they smelled so good, so I ended up eating them. Now they're worth like $1,000. Jeez.
It depends. Honestly, Bodo, it depends on the cards. What year, what player, because some of them are worth tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, even 1986 Topps cards are worth a fortune if they're PSA 10s because the black borders chipped so easily. So, again, the market, I never played the stock market, but the baseball card market, I'm pretty good with that.
Jeez. And Diego says, if we can't get a deal done with Saquon, would you use that money to sign Edmonds for like 4 years, $60 million?
That's a good question.
I gotta see how the rest of the money is distributed, and probably not. I probably wouldn't want to go that high. But I wouldn't cry if they did it. He's young. He's 26. It's a big need of ours. So I wouldn't cry if they did it. But ideally, I wouldn't want to have to spend that much on a linebacker. But I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they're going to break the bank for anybody. But if they could get a linebacker for a moderate price, 9, 10, 11.
I'll tell you a guy that I like it again. I haven't done a lot of research, like as far as where these guys are going to go in the draft. And I wouldn't use him on a first round pick. But if we let Barkley go, if they don't sign Barkley, I always like Travis Dye from Oregon. Like, I don't know if he's a first round pick, but if we get a guy like Travis Dye later in the draft, I don't think that would be a bad pick.
Ray, you missed out, man. Ray is, and I'm going to be doing the Knicks game tomorrow, by the way. I know you pop into my Knicks streams too, Ray, but he's a huge Mets fan. We're talking baseball like half the stream tonight, Ray. And yeah, we're gonna be doing a baseball show weekly in May. So look forward to that. So
definitely.
I know you like my Mets content. Afghanistan says a majority of Eagles fans were right. They're with you. They're so yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. You just learn to whatever. It don't matter.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, Afghanistan. At the end of the day, if people are going to they'll find some way to disagree with you. They'll find some loophole. They'll find whatever they can just so they can try to get a rise out of you. And I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I'm not going to get mad anymore. I don't really care. I'm just at the point, like, I don't care. It is what it is. I do what I do. They do what they do. I've gone back and forth on the Daniel Jones thing. When I was saying he was no good, I was getting killed by the people that thought he was good. And when I changed my mind, said, you know what, he can play, I was wrong. Now I get people say, whoa, how can you change your mind on him now? And so it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's just my opinion.
Everybody, it is, yeah. That's what I don't get. Like, when people, like...
I don't get mad at my opinion.
When I get, like, if somebody flip-flops way too often, okay. But when somebody, like, organically, like, changes their opinion on a player based off of production... If you're a fan of that side, like if you're somebody who like has blindly followed Daniel Jones from the start, and I don't want to use the word blindly because you deserve credit but you had faith in him from the start and you didn't need evidence and other people did, and you're gonna come down on those people because they changed their opinion. If anything,
I had faith in him at the start, and then I lost faith in the judge guy. Yeah,
I don't get like the venomous hate for people that are like, yeah, I believe in Daniel Jones now. He's shown me something. I think he could grow into like. That's what you should want, right? So I personally just don't get it.
It just, again, people are people. It's just how it goes.
But Easy Lopez says, how long has it been since we actually had a linebacker? Antonio Pierce was the last good linebacker we had in terms of a guy that was there for multiple years as a middle linebacker. He was the last. It's been a long time, and he was a free agent from Washington.
Yeah.
We drafted wide receiver early 2 years in a row. I think we do it again. Yeah, well, we drafted, obviously, Wandell, and then the year before we took Tony. Yeah, I do think we do it again. It might not be in the first. It might be in the second. But, yeah, good chance it's in the first. But if it's not, I think it'll be in the second. Mm-hmm. But, yes, it's too big of a need. And you're getting to a point now where listen, Baddog, at the end of the day, if you're investing $30 million a year. Well, I think it's going to be more, but we'll say 30 just because that's easier to say than 37 or 34. Mm. If you're going to invest $30 million a year in Daniel Jones, you better get him some weapons. Otherwise, what's the point?
Exactly.
You better.
If you're gonna bring back Daniel Jones, you're going to build around Daniel Jones.
Yeah, like
that was why I became again. I made videos saying he would be better than Mitch Trubisky, which he is. Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul. I got killed for making that video when I said Daniel Jones could be better than Dwayne Haskins. Yeah, I got killed on that. I said he'd be better than Sam Darnold, okay? And I said he'd be better than Dak Prescott. Now, like I said, I lost my vision because of all the losses. He wasn't playing well. He had a terrible coach. He was hurt. I didn't know what the hell he was. I didn't know that he could do what he did this year.
Yeah.
And when I see the step that he takes and I see what's around him, he had Golden Tate his rookie year. Golden Tate wasn't great, but Golden Tate was better than anybody else he was throwing to. Golden Tate was better than Richie James, and Richie James had a great year. People talk about, the quarterback has to elevate his players. I think that he elevated Richie James. I think that he elevated Isaiah Hodgins.
He elevated the entire team this year.
Right. So
I don't care what the
to me, I'm looking at, wow, these are practice squad receivers. And we're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He must have done something right. Can you imagine if his tandem is Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill? Or A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? Can you imagine if he's thrown to that?
Well,
or Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel.
I was going to say, look at the teams
right now. Cap and Lockett.
Look at the teams right now in the Final Four. You got the 49ers with McCaffrey, with Kittle, with Deebo, with Ayuk. You've got the Eagles with A.J. Brown and obviously Devontae Smith. And then in the AFC,
Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert. And then in the AFC, you got Kelsey, you've got Juju. His weapons aren't quite as good, but he's Pat Mahomes. But Kelsey's elite.
Yeah, Edwards-Hilaire's good.
He's good.
McCall Hardman's good. Like they're.
And then the Bengals. I mean, forget about it. I mean,
Higgins, Chase, Mixon, Burrow.
Yeah, so like, look at the teams they're in the dance, man. Look, they got weapons.
That's what I mean.
Loads and loads of weapons. So 100% the Giants are going to attack the wide receiver position. They have to. But they can't ignore the kind of like what Joe Shane alluded to when people said, you're going to get the number one wide receiver. And he said, we know we need to upgrade the wide receiver, but at the same time, there's other needs on this team. So they may not fix it all in 1 year. If you're like a guy that's like,
you can't.
We may not have an incredible wide receiving core this year, but I can promise you this, it'll be better.
Right.
And it'll be trending towards hopefully becoming a high-end wide
Listen,
receiver.
I told you there was a guy that commented on a live stream after the fact or whatever and said, Baddog says they got to give Daniel Jones all this money, but he still has to build. How are you planning on doing that? And it's called the draft. That is where you build your team. You don't build in free agency. It's not like, oh, God, we're using all of our free agency money on Daniel Jones. You have that money, so you bring your players back. And like I said, you take a piece that you need when you're ready to compete and you go out and you get it, like the Eagles did with A.J. Brown or like the 49ers do with Christian McCaffrey. You make that move at that point, okay? Even the Cardinals were making them run, and they went out and they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, okay? Right. So that's when you do this stuff. But your core is built through the draft. The Bengals, you look at that team, T. Higgins draft, Jamar Chase draft, Joe Mixon draft, Joe Burrow draft.
Boyd was draft too, I think, right?
Right. So, wow. That's pretty good. Look at the 49ers.
Debo.
Right? All those quarterbacks they have were drafted. Yeah. Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Bosa. They're all drafted there. Look at Kansas City. They're outside of Kadarius Toney, who they got this year for not much. He didn't fit here. We got what we could for him. They drafted them all. Juju, they didn't. They paid Juju. But they were already a Super Bowl contending team.
Kelsey.
Dallas is really good. Dallas built through the draft. Philadelphia built through the draft, and they added on A.J. Brown. You build your team through the draft. You pay your players. So you can't pay them all, but you don't go out and grab free agents. You let your players walk. You get compensatory picks. You get more draft picks. You get more talent. That's the way the best do it. That's why
this is such a great point. This is such a great point. And I'm not saying everybody.
Well, it's Xavier McKinney. I mean, he would.
Yeah, great point, Xavier McKinney. And I'm not saying that everybody that says that Daniel Jones when they say the things they say about Daniel Jones is saying this, but a lot of people Yes, they're absolutely saying that will say, go get Lamar Jackson. Not everybody's saying that does not want Daniel Jones, but there are a lot of people that are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, well, if you sign Daniel Jones to $30 or $35 million a year, you're not going to have enough finances to be able to get that wide receiving core that all these Super Bowl teams have. But then they say, let's give Lamar Jackson $50 million, who's been hurt and banged up the last 2 or 3 years. And I know he's got an MVP award, and I'm not taking away from the guy's talent. But that's going to even impact you even further in terms of being able to get wide receivers. That's a great point by Alex.
Yeah, it is.
Great point.
It is. And I think Daniel Jones had, rushing wise, he had a Lamar Jackson type year. Everybody says, 3,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, but they seem to fail to mention 708 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. They seem to forget that he did it with his legs. And they're like, well, he's not a good passer. But everybody's like, you need a mobile quarterback. You need a guy that can run. Well, Jesus, I think he can run. Everybody thinks Jalen Hurts is great. Jalen Hurts had a great year. I'm not taking Jalen Hurts made throws I didn't think he could make. And I watched this guy through college, and I've always said my thoughts on Jalen Hurts had nothing to do with him being Philadelphia. That just added fuel to the fire. I always loved Jalen Hurts as a player. I just never thought he'd be that good. I didn't.
Yeah.
But look at Jalen Hurts' touchdown numbers. How many touchdowns did Jalen Hurts throw this year? He didn't throw 35 touchdowns. He didn't put up Pat Mahomes numbers. But they're talking about the guy being an MVP. Why? Because he ran for 13 touchdowns. That's part of it. That's part of this day and age. Everyone's like, you got to get a quarterback that runs. We have a quarterback that runs. Got to get a quarterback that can make all the throws. Not every quarterback out there can make all the throws. Jalen Hurts can't make all the throws. Dak Prescott can't make all the throws. You got really good quarterbacks. Derek Carr. They don't make all the throws. Your elite guys make all the throws. They don't grow on trees. It doesn't happen that easy. So Daniel Jones has the skill set to succeed. He needs better talent around him. He will be better when you get him better talent.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it.
We're in complete agreement with it. Zahib says there is nothing comparable to God. Love you. We appreciate it, Zahib, man. Thank you so much for being here, man. Appreciate the support. So we're going to close this out in like a couple minutes. Obviously, there's not a whole lot to talk about right now, but had a lot of fun tonight. I'm going to address this, though. I think fans, when they bring this up, and I get where they're going, Baddog, when they say the Tyrod Taylor thing, I get where they're going. They're like, we don't believe in Daniel Jones in terms of being a guy that could win us a Super Bowl, so let's tank. That's what you're saying when you say, so let's just start Tyrod Taylor and draft a quarterback. You might as well just say, let's tank, because that's what you're saying. And I get your strategy. I get what you're thinking. You want to have that lottery ticket to potentially get a quarterback. One, you don't know if you're going to perfectly tank and get the number 1 overall pick. You might get the 5th pick. Okay? But 2, you're not thinking about it from Joe Shane's perspective. You're not thinking about it from Brian Dable's perspective. You're thinking about it almost as if you're playing Madden. When I play Madden, I'm going to tank and I'm going to get the 1st pick and I'm going to get the quarterback. This is New York. If you're Brian Dable and you're Joe Shane, you win 9 games the year before, and then you intentionally tank, because that is what you would be doing if you did something like that, and you let Daniel Jones go and play with the Jets or Washington, and they win 12 games, and you win 4, suddenly if you're Joe Shane and Brian Dable, you're on the hot seat. And you better hit on that quarterback, because if you don't, you're out of a job the next year. So they're not doing that. This is not Madden. This is the NFL. This is real life. This is why Daniel Jones is coming back. They're not going to tank. They know that Daniel Jones gives them the best chance to win. They know he knows the playbook, and they know that he's going to grow as a quarterback as they get more help around him. Bottom line, this is not Madden, Baddog.
Yeah, I don't. And the other thing is, when you do that, what are you telling the players on your team? You're telling them, we ain't trying to win with you guys. We don't believe in you guys. To hell with you. So therefore, you become this is not a destination a free agent wants to go to. Why would a free agent want to go to a team that won 9 games, looks like they're ready to take off, then the next year, like, screw it, we're tanking? Who wants to go to that environment? Now they're talking about big name free agencies coming here because you see the stability of the Giants. You all of a sudden go back to the instability you had the last 5 years. Who the hell wants to come here? There's so many things that go into this besides the guys play. There's locker room personalities. There's guys that work hard. They believe in each other. Confidence. There's just so many intangibles that don't show up in a Madden rating, okay, or in a box score. There's little things that happen through the course of a game. There's chemistry. You cannot just sit there and go, wow, we overachieved, and now we're going to throw it all away. And for what? Like Chris said, hoping that you get a quarterback that ends up being really good. Because let's face it, there's been plenty of quarterbacks that have been drafted in the top 5 that everyone's like, oh, this guy's a can't miss. And he misses. Ask the Jets. They've drafted 3 quarterbacks in the top 5 in the last 13 years, and every single one of them sucked. And they're already talking about getting rid of Zach Wilson. Okay.
And it had as much to do with why, because they did not build a good football team as anything else.
Exactly. And you can't keep changing your quarterback every 3 years and expect to win. It's not going to help anything.
It's not happening. We're not doing that. We're not tanking. That would basically just say you would just be giving the middle finger to every player in that locker room.
That's what I mean.
If you came back next year after how hard these guys fought and you brought in, let's just say Jacoby Brissett. You think they're going to believe in Jacoby Brissett? Come on. Like, I see people on Twitter make this argument. Oh, you could pay Jacoby Brissett $15 million. Okay. He's not Daniel Jones. That's why you can pay him $15 million.
Right.
And the players are going to know that. The team's going to know that. All the good chemistry that they built up with this New York Giants football team, you're going to throw that out the window. We talk about the culture that they've built. It's not happening.
That's exactly it. You'd be killing the culture. Because you would be telling them. Brian Daboll showed all year he believed in his players. And by doing that, it's a slap in the face. And you're saying, I don't believe in you after all. I don't believe in you. I want to build a different team. I don't want this, because other guys are going to end up losing their jobs. And other guys, when these players become free agents, you talk about Andrew Thomas, you talk about Dexter Lawrence. If you go and say, well, the hell with it, we're going to start Tyrod Taylor, we're going to let Daniel Jones walk, we're not even going to try, and you win 4 games, do you think Dexter Lawrence is going to go, yeah, I want to go back to that team? You think Andrew Thomas is going, yeah, I want to be the left tackle of this team for the next 10 years and have that happen to me? No. They don't want to do that. Players want to win. Yeah, players want to get paid. I don't blame them, okay? But at the end of the day, you want to win. You want to be a winner. You don't want to win 4 games a year. You want to win a Lombardi. That's what it's all about, because they're never going to take that away from you. You can take everything else away, but you can't take that away. So that's what you'd be doing. You're going to chase your own guys out of the building if you do that. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. That's why you give Daniel Jones a 3 or 4 year deal. And if he does not improve and this team does not improve and does not start competing and taking steps forward, then you say, okay, now we have to figure out a different
strategy. Then you do what the Chiefs did.
Right.
Like if he never – Daniel Jones right now is at a bare minimum Alex Smith.
That's right.
That's like – and he's better, by the way, already. But he's already there at a bare minimum. So if he is what Alex Smith was for the Chiefs for the next 2 years, that's fine. You keep building up the team, and then you get the guy. Or does he evolve into something more? That's it.
That's it.
You don't need to draft the quarterback.
Because you're not. I mean, the guys that want to draft the quarterback, like, what do you expect? Do you expect to draft the quarterback and then you're going to win a Super Bowl? Because you got a quarterback, but you still don't have wide receivers. You don't have inside linebackers. You don't have an interior offensive line. Quarterbacks are very important, but the most important position on a football team. But they can't do it by themselves. No quarterback in the history of football has done it by himself. Like we just talked about. Look at the 4 teams still playing football and look at the freaking talent on those rosters. You don't do that by changing a quarterback every 3 years.
It's not happening.
Now, San Francisco is a different story. I mean, what the hell can you do? The guys get hurt, but that shows you how good the talent is that you can bring in Mr. Irrelevant, and a dude has won 7 in a row. Okay. So that just goes to show you.
It's true.
You can win if you can win with Brock Purdy, you can damn sure win with Daniel Jones.
And by the way, the 49ers paid Jimmy Garoppolo as they built up that team.
Right.
They gave Jimmy Garoppolo a lot of money when they first brought him in from the New England Patriots. He was one of the highest paid quarterbacks in football on a per year average.
Yeah.
And they still were able to build up the team. The Chiefs gave Alex Smith at the time a pretty hefty contract. They were still able to build up the team. You could still build up the team. You're not giving this guy $50 million over a 7-year contract.
Right.
You're building through the draft. That's what they're going to do.
Yep.
David says, fun chat, be well, go Giants. David, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
But guys, thank you guys so much. The Niners do draft well. But Rel, I'm going to tell you what. If Joe Shane doesn't draft well, we're not going to be good.
Exactly.
We brought Joe Shane in here to draft well. If he can't draft well, he's going to be fired.
Exactly.
That's it. Like, the Giants have to become a team that drafts well. You want to win Super Bowls, you got to draft well.
That's exactly it.
The New York Giants, when they were winning Super Bowls, Rel, Eli Manning drafted, Justin Tuck drafted, Osi Umenyiora drafted,
Brandon Jacobs drafted,
outside of McKenzie drafted,
Hakeem Nicks drafted, Mario Manningham drafted, Steve Smith drafted, Aaron Ross drafted, Osi Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan drafted,
Jacobs, Bradshaw drafted.
Snead, right?
So we're not going to win if we can't draft. That's what it boils down to. So that's why we brought Shane in. Hopefully get the job done.
Right.
But guys, thank you so much, man, for being here. We appreciate all you guys, every single one of you guys. You guys are the best. We'll be doing this show after the Super Bowl, probably like the week after. That's when things will start. The combine's right around then, so you'll start to, you start to have a little bit of off-season talk after the Super Bowl. I'll definitely have some videos up along the way. I'll probably have a video up tomorrow, just diving a little bit into the offseason, talking about like projected contracts for players. I'm thinking about doing that. I'll be live for the next game as well if you want to swing by for that. But thank you to everybody for being here. I appreciate it. Bad Dog, thank you so much for coming on, and I had a great time tonight, guys.
That was awesome. And yeah, if you guys are here the whole time, you got a little glimpse into the baseball show Chris and I are going to do during the spring and summer when after the draft and football dies down until, kind of the middle of July or whatever. It was a great season. I always have fun doing this show. I say it all the time. It's my favorite thing I do on YouTube. This was a match made in heaven from day one. When Chris and I got together, it just works. And I love it. And I love all the support you guys and girls show, the overwhelming support, agree or disagree. Always appreciate you being there and giving your opinions, and it was fun for the first time. Well, since Chris and I started doing the show, we actually had meaningful football past, Thanksgiving. I guess in 2020 we had a meaningful game, the last game of the season. It was meaningful, but we were not a good team. This was a good team. They overachieved, and on paper they're not the most talented, but it was a lot of fun watching them go through the process, getting better, believing, and most importantly, winning football games against teams like Green Bay and Baltimore, and coming back the way they did, winning a playoff game. The game against Washington, it was a lot of fun. This year was a lot of fun, and I think next year is going to be even better. And Chris and I always look forward to doing the draft. I don't know what your schedule is this year, but I've already taken that week off. So
yeah, I don't know if I'll be out because I just started, so I don't know if I'm going to.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
regardless, we'll work around the schedule. I work
either way. We'll cover the draft for you.
Yeah, I work from home, so I'll be done by 4:30. So we'll be able to do something.
So,
but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Stu, real quick, our picks. We said it earlier. I think we both have the same two teams.
Yeah,
Niners, Bengals. Both. I think Bad Dog probably agrees with me. I think they're both going to be within like 4 or 5 points. I think they're going to be really close games. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great championship weekend. But yeah, we both got the same Super Bowl.
No, so.
But Bad Dog, close it out, man.
Yeah. So again, guys and girls, we appreciate all the support on this show. And, like we said, we're going to take a few weeks off and we'll get back to it probably the end of February. But, keep an eye out for videos. Obviously, Chris covers the Knicks. I cover the other coast. And everybody's like, oh, why are you a Laker fan? I'm not a Laker fan. But obviously, Chris does the Knicks games and I wouldn't step on him anyway. But I don't have the schedule doesn't work for me. But like I said, you guys and your girls, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy your weekend. And we will see you soon. For the Entertaining Talk Sports, Bad D Dizzle, we go. Peace.
Have a good night, everybody. And we are.